Chapter 6:17. Long Xiang waved his right hand and a few rays of light flashed in his hand, instantly knocking out the screaming Sky Knight. Then, another 2 Sky Knights came forward and took away their unconscious comrade. On the Thunder Griffin Sky Knight's side, no one else came out to fight, because it would be useless even if they sent another one. As for sending a large force to surround and attack, the Sky Knights could not afford to lose face. The honor and pride of the Knights made it impossible for them to use a group method to charge at a mere Earth rank level 1 human male, even if this human male's strength was abnormal and could surpass his rank to kill his opponent. Skeleton Man Rachel also retreated. Although it was a skeleton, it did not mean that it was a fool. In fact, this guy was much more cunning than the other Bone Clan member that Yu Yang knew, Wang Jin. The 2 leaders of the Black Skeleton Bandit group were already dead and Rachel had already contributed. Even if the clown was unhappy, he could not do anything about it. After all, no one would be stupid enough to let their subordinates die for nothing. He 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 he. Behind the clown's half-crying, half-laughing silver mask, he suddenly let out a bone-chilling laugh. His laugh was not because he was happy, but because he was extremely angry. It would be a lie if the clown was not angry at Yu Yang and Anan, these 2 humans who could affect the overall plan. He originally thought that this battle would be able to smoothly eliminate the Raging Flame Bandit group and get rid of the Raging Flame Bandit group. He did not expect that at the last moment something like this would happen. This made him secretly grit his teeth in anger. He quickly spun the magic wand in his hand, as if it could help him think. The other hand was also nimbly tossing the tricolored ball. Could it be that the clown was going to personally take action? Everyone had this doubt. A Heaven Rank Level 4 ranker, was he going to personally take action against an ordinary Earth Rank Level 1 civilian? If it was any other time, everyone would probably laugh out loud and not believe it. But in this kind of situation, everyone felt that it was very normal. Only a Heaven Rank ranker like the clown could defeat that abnormal young man. Of course, for a Heaven Rank Level 4 ranker clown to take action personally was still a bit too much. The peak of Heaven Rank Level 4 was almost at the level of a Heaven Realm King. Even if he won against a commoner, it could be said that he had an unfair advantage. "You're looking for me. While I still have some strength, come up." The female giant walked out. Her strength had been greatly weakened by the plague dragon nail. Even Skeleton Man Rachel, Golden Armor Marshal Long Xiang and the clown, who were originally at the same level as her, could easily defeat her, let alone Wise Demon Marshal who was originally at the same level. The bloodline of the female giant was that of an ancient dragon. The plague dragon nail, which was completely useless to ordinary people, was her greatest nemesis. The blood on the female giant's body had turned purplish-blue because of the dragon plague. Spots of the dragon plague corrosion appeared on her originally steel-like skin. If things continued to drag on like this, he believed that in less than an hour she would collapse and never get up again. Even without a battle, he would be on the verge of death. The female giant, whose entire body was in the dragon plague state, was already severely weakened. The only thing that did not change was her flame-like hair. When the wind blew, it still burned like a flame. There were no negative effects that could affect her condition. The female giant looked at the one-eyed dragon, Skinny Man and the rest who followed her to the end. She did not say a word, then looked at Yu Yang and Anan and nodded. "Thank you very much. Although we don't know each other, we've only met once. You guys are better than some friends who live together and fight side by side. I'm very happy to be able to get to know you guys before I set off. Actually, life is like this. As long as you have a clear conscience and do things without regrets, then that's enough. Goodbye, the 2 of you." The female giant roared, and the muscles on her body rapidly expanded. Her height also increased and her bones made cracking sound. Within a few seconds, she had already risen to a height of 4 meters. Her strength had also temporarily recovered to its peak state. With just one step, the entire luxurious Starry Sky cruise ship started to tremble. Furthermore, a loud sound exploded from the bottom of her feet. From her feet, a crack that was a few hundred meters long appeared on the deck. It went all the way into the 100-story cabin and reached all the way to the keel at the bottom of the ship. Following the rumbling explosion, the entire bow of the luxurious Starry Sky cruise ship was forcefully cracked by her feet. The front part of the bow, with a cracking sound that made one's teeth ache, was completely detached. Furthermore, it lost its support and after being severely capsized, it fell straight towards the surface of the lake thousands of meters below. Countless people screamed in fear, and the warriors who had fallen along with them on the deck of the ship disregarded everything and ran for their lives. If they were to fall together with this huge broken bow, other than heaven rankers, no one would be able to survive. Furthermore, although the lake below looked beautiful and clear, it was an infamous man-eating lake. There was a boundary of death below the lake. Any prey that fell into the lake would become dizzy and disoriented. They would not be able to escape from the lake in time and would be torn into pieces by the man-eating demon fish in the lake, forever buried in the fish's stomach. Long Xiang was still standing in midair. With a wave of his hand, all the members of the Thunder Griffin aerial night team descended in an orderly manner. They were in charge of rescuing the passengers who had fallen and were unable to escape. At the same time, they were also monitoring the members of the Raging Flame Bandit group to prevent them from escaping during the chaos. The members of the Clown group and the Black Skeleton group held the women, children and the elderly of the Raging Flame group tightly. Using a large number of people, they formed a battle formation and calmly flew away in the sky. Only a few members with low levels and weak abilities managed to escape in a sorry state when the bow of the ship was falling. They were deeply afraid that they would fall into the man-eating lake together with the bow of the ship. The bow of the ship whistled through the wind. It fell towards the lake. The Clown, Skeleton Man Rachel and the Bald Wise Demon Marshall all stood at their original positions without moving. They looked coldly at the female giant. It was as if this action of breaking the bow of the ship to cause chaos was completely within their expectations. Yu Yang and Anan just happened to be standing at the edge of the crack. Beside their feet was a neatly broken breach. This was done on purpose by the female giant. She left Yu Yang and Anan up there while she perished together with the enemy. You can leave, I have no intention of attacking you too. Long Xiang, who stayed behind to monitor Yu Yang, expressed his attitude. Actually, he really admired Yu Yang and Anan and felt that the two of them had limitless potential. Although they appeared to be Earth rank level 1 on the surface, in reality, the two of them had the ability to fight beyond their rank. If it wasn't for today's hostile situation, Long Xiang would have persuaded the two of them to be loyal to the Lionheart King and used the best resources of the country to nurture the two of them. He believed that if the Lionheart King knew of the existence of the two of them, it was highly possible that he would personally take the two of them as his disciples and even grant them the title of nobility. However, they were currently enemies. Even if Long Xiang wanted to invite Yu Yang and Anan, he had to give the Clown some face. After all, the Clown was the one in charge of this plan. Casually betraying the alliance was not something that a Knight of Light who strictly abided by the Knight's law could do. I'm sorry, Marshal Long Xiang, the order we received was to keep them here. The two heaven rank rankers who also stayed on the ship shook their heads and objected. What? Long Xiang's face was a little sullen. He felt that his dignity was being challenged. We apologize to you here. Our regiment commander's order is to keep these two people here. Marshal Long Xiang, unless you kill us, we will resolutely carry out our regiment commander's order. The two heaven rank rankers saluted Long Xiang. They also did not want to provoke Long Xiang. However, the Clown regiment commander had already given a death order. If they could not capture Yu Yang and Anan alive, they would definitely be killed. Long Xiang looked at Yu Yang and Anan and suddenly nodded his head. I'm sorry, I can't interfere in your matters. The cooperation with the clown group is the Lionheart King's order. Long Xiang cannot go against it. The only thing we can do is for the entire Sky Knight group to withdraw from the battle. Long Xiang is here, I wish you good luck. Hearing Long Xiang's words, the two heaven rank rankers heaved a sigh of relief. If this extremely inflexible fellow insisted on meddling in other people's business, then it would be a headache. Fortunately, the Clown Regiment commander had already made an alliance with the Lionheart King. With the restriction of the alliance, no matter how stubborn Long Xiang was, he had no choice but to give up his principles. The two heaven rank rankers looked at each other. Just one heaven rank ranker would not be safe enough to take down these two strange young people. But if two heaven rank rankers were to attack together, then there would definitely be no worries. No matter how strong the two people in front of them were, they could not reach heaven rank. Heaven rank was a realm. There would be energy resonance between two heaven rank rankers, it was impossible to hide it. But the two people in front of them did not have this kind of energy resonance. It proved that they were not heaven rank. A non-heaven ranker fighting against a heaven rank? No matter how abnormal their strength was, no matter how strong they were, they could not win. No matter how strong an earth rank ranker was, they could not defeat a heaven rank ranker. This was a record that no one in the heaven realm had been able to break. Thank you. Yu Yang raised his crescent moon sword and nodded towards Long Xiang. Originally, I was in a bad mood and wanted to kill everyone on this ship. But for your sake, I'll let them go. As long as this ship sinks, I should be able to get rid of my bad mood. Don't do anything stupid, this is Sky Region Emperor's ship. Long Xiang saw that Yu Yang was about to destroy the ship. He turned pale with fright and hurriedly stopped him. Who is Sky Region Emperor? Yu Yang had never heard of this name. Long Xiang was stunned at first. He did not understand why Yu Yang had never heard of the name Sky Region Emperor. In the South Heaven Realm, other than the Realm Lord and the three great leaders, it was Sky Region Emperor and the other 100 Region Emperors. Among the 100 Region Emperors, Sky Region Emperor was definitely in the top 5. In other words, no matter if it was rank, strength or fame, Sky Region Emperor could be ranked in the top 10 of the South Heaven Realm. Towards this young man who lived in the South Heaven Realm and did not know Sky Region Emperor, Long Xiang could not help but smile bitterly. Let me put it this way, my bounty is 400 million, my Master Lionheart King's bounty is 40 billion, and Sky Region Emperor's bounty is 100 billion. Do you understand now? That's right. The leader of the guards who had helped Yu Yang previously stood up and said, although Starry Sky isn't the biggest ship among the 950,000 fleets of His Majesty, the Sky Region Emperor, if you destroy this ship, it would be equivalent to challenging the authority of His Majesty, the Sky Region Emperor. Even if you escape to any corner of the Heaven Realm, the Executive Knights under the Sky Region Emperor will chase you to the end. Please do not be rash, it is easy to destroy a ship, but the trouble you will attract is not something that you and your lover can bear. I understand completely. Yu Yang turned around and looked at Inan. Inan nodded her head firmly, and... No, don't. Under the exclamations of the two heaven rankers, the leader of the guards and all the passengers, Yu Yang raised the crescent moon slash and slashed out with the power to destroy heaven and earth. First slash. Earth-splitting slash. That blade light that even heaven-rank powerhouses were afraid of was like cutting tofu. It easily cut the entire luxurious Starry Sky cruise ship in half from the head to the tail. The 1,000-meter-long blade aura completely dazzled everyone's eyes. Even the clown, skeleton man Rachel and the bald wise demon Marshall, who turned their heads to look at the sky, hurriedly revealed looks of disbelief. The female giant was also extremely shocked. She thought that she had already guessed Yu Yang's true strength, but she did not expect that she had guessed it completely wrong. Lunatic! Long Xiang looked at Yu Yang in shock. Kill him! The clown went crazy. He almost instantly abandoned the female giant and flew towards the sky, preparing to kill Yu Yang personally. He definitely would not allow this kind of young man to grow. Behind him, the female giant also gave up on intimidating the traitor Fu Tu and quickly chased after the clown. Her giant fist exploded with a fatal punch, preventing the clown from returning. Before Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall could react, Yu Yang in the sky had already raised the crescent moon / downwards. / heaven and earth collapse. His target was actually the clown. Damn, he's really a lunatic. Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall could not help but curse at the same time. They had seen crazy people before, but they had never seen an opponent as crazy as Yu Yang. Earth rank level 1, attacking a heaven rank level 4 peak? Was there anything crazier than this in this world? Chapter 6:18. With a slash, the clown's expression changed. The two heaven rankers originally wanted to attack Anan, but who knew that Yu Yang had already brought her into the grimoire world right before he swooped down to attack the clown. The two heaven rankers cursed in their hearts. They hated enemies with grimoires the most. Once they couldn't defeat them, they would escape into the grimoire world. The two of them followed closely behind Yu Yang. Like the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, they joined hands to attack Yu Yang, who was attacking the clown. The clown had Yu Yang's heavy slash above his head and the female giant's fatal blow behind his back. The situation was not good. Below them, Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall also chased after the clown and attacked the female giant. A cruise ship fell from the sky and the bow of the ship fell straight down. On the lake, there were thunder griffins carrying passengers flying in an arc. Under the water, there were murderous spirit-devouring demon sharks leaping out of the water and attacking their prey in the sky. The whole battlefield was in chaos and it was out of control. Puppet. The clown who had the puppet inherent skill, even under the pincer attack of the female giant and Yu Yang, he was still able to calmly use his inherent skill. Together with his guardian beast, he summoned a puppet that looked exactly the same as his original body. That guardian beast was very special. It was a puppet. Its level was not high and it did not have life, but it could miraculously replace its master to take any damage. The fatal blow that the female giant gave to the clown was actually completely taken by this useless puppet. The puppet shattered and turned into nothingness. However, the clown luckily escaped the attack and was not injured at all. Instead, he borrowed the wind from the punch to rise up. Just as the blade was about to reach his face, the clown strangely slid past Yu Yang. In turn, he looked down from above. His fingers, which were wrapped in the black light of death, were aimed at the back of Yu Yang's head at an extreme speed. Death's finger was a consummate skill that the clown had learned from a region emperor. Even a heaven ranker level 1 would definitely die if he was hit by this finger of death. In the 1/10,000th of a second after he tapped on the back of Yu Yang's head, the clown realized that his body was bound by something. At the same time, Yu Yang, who was slashing down with an indomitable will, turned his body with a smile on his face. His Tao Tai blade became even more violent as it slashed through the clown's long fingers and slashed at the clown's face. This was the clown's weakness that no one knew about. Other than Yu Yang, who possessed the Heaven Eye's divine vision, even the female giant whom he had worked with before, his current allies Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall did not know that the clown's real weakness was his face. Lord of Rivers and Mountains. The dense blade aura penetrated the defense of the half-crying, half-smiling Marshall Saint's silver mask, broke through the defense, struck the clown's face, and seeped into his skull. The clown was in so much pain that he couldn't control himself. He kicked out crazily. It landed on Yu Yang's body. Yu Yang's body spun like a spinning top under the clown's kick. This was one of the clown's killing techniques. First, it made the enemy unable to attack or defend. Then, the enemy would be in a spinning state, completely under the clown's control. Die. The clown who kicked out a spinning top first used one hand to cover his face, while the other hand continued to tap downward. The finger of death exploded again. What made him feel strange was that the binding force appeared again. The clown watched as Yu Yang unbelievably slashed out his blade in a spinning top state. The blade passed through the gaps between his fingers and penetrated the silver mask, hitting the clown's face. Fourth slash, Heaven and Earth Reversal. This slash was not only Yu Yang's full force attack, it also carried the clown's spinning top force. The clown was slashed until his entire body spun like a spinning top. It was impossible for him to retaliate. While the two of them were fighting, the female giant who had missed her punch arrived. She reached out her giant hand and grabbed the clown like she was grabbing a chick. She grabbed him in her hand. She exerted a great amount of strength in her hands and twisted the clown's body, causing all the bones in the clown's body to crackle. She then smashed the clown's entire body onto her knees with all her might. Finally, as the clown howled in pain, she threw him far away. She used him as a weapon and smashed him like a meteor towards Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall, who were chasing after her. Yu Yang used his leg to step on the back of the female giant's neck and used the force to wave his crescent moon blade to block the two heaven-ranked rankers' attack. With just a touch, the two heaven-ranked rankers did not have the time to use their full strength. Yu Yang disappeared like a wisp of smoke. In the next second, he overtook Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall, who were dodging to the sides and chased after the clown who was falling towards the lake. The female giant's aura exploded and the image of an ancient dragon appeared above her head. The two heaven-ranked rankers were sent flying and vomited blood. She roared like thunder and her fists were like a storm, furiously attacking Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall, who were blocking her. The two of them did not retreat and clenched their teeth to defend against the female giant's brute force. If the dragon plague did not weaken the female giant's strength, they would not have been able to withstand such attack. On the surface of the lake, Yu Yang caught up to the clown. The clown, who hated Yu Yang to the core, turned around angrily and waved his magic wand to fight against Yu Yang. The glory of heaven ranked was nothing to the clown. As long as he could kill this despicable brat, he did not care how much face he lost. The two of them were only half a meter apart, but the sinister clown was able to skillfully cast 3 fatal attacks. The tricolored balls he threw collided with each other and attacked 3 vital parts of Yu Yang's body. The magic wand was aimed at the space between Yu Yang's eyebrows. Its power was second only to the finger of death. Once hit, he would either die or be crippled. However, the clown's legs were 10 times faster than this. Like a whirlwind, he had already kicked Yu Yang's 10 legs before the magic wand reached Yu Yang's eyebrows. The clown's fast leg attacks were unbeatable. Even his esteemed teacher, the Domain Emperor Qing Yi, was full of praises for the clown. Qing Yi thought that the clown's fast legs had reached the standard of an ultimate technique. The clown wanted to use his fast legs to kick Yu Yang into pieces. The magic wand and tricolored balls were all faint. Only fast legs were his ultimate technique to kill his enemies. However, the clown felt a pain in his stomach. He was shocked to find that his stomach was also kicked by a flying leg. Moreover, it was only one leg, but the speed and frequency of the kick was almost as fast as his 2 legs. How was this possible? The clown could not figure out why. He only felt that there was a terrifying energy invading his stomach, as if it was going to burst out. He endured the pain and gave up the opportunity to continue attacking. He leaped backward and escaped from Yu Yang's attack. Yu Yang did not let him go after gaining the upper hand and immediately chased after him. The 5th slash came down with an unstoppable force. The clown was going crazy. A heaven ranker was beaten up like this. What a scandal! He angrily used the tricolored balls and magic wand to counterattack. If the enemy chased after him, he would definitely be hit first. He did not think that Yu Yang would risk his life to fight with him. Even if he risked his life, he was a heaven ranker and he would be able to win. The next second, he realized that he was wrong. Yu Yang was not only risking his life, But he was also crazy, as if he was committing suicide. There was no defense at all. The glittering magic wand was cut into half. Yu Yang completely ignored the tricolored balls that were shot at him. Even when they hit Yu Yang's body and caused a large amount of blood to splatter, Yu Yang did not care. He only focused on using all his strength to condense the most powerful sword radiance he had ever used in a battle. It was the most powerful slash that could split heaven and earth. The fifth slash, gods and demons avoid. The entire sky was split into half because of this slash. The surface of the huge lake also sank into a crack that was 10 meters wide and so deep that the bottom could not be seen. The eyes behind the silver mask of the clown showed fear for the first time. It was the first time he threw away his beloved magic wand. His 10 extremely long fingers moved agilely, trying to touch Yu Yang's slash. At the moment when the Tao Tai blade was about to hit the silver mask, he clenched his teeth and used his 10 fingers to clamp this terrifying slash. That was close. He did not even have time to breathe a sigh of relief. When the clown habitually counterattacked with a flying kick, the shadow of the luxurious starry sky cruise ship falling from the sky suddenly made him remember something important. His whole body trembled. Not good, he fell into a trap. But it was too late. The binding force appeared for the third time, and it was 100 times stronger than before. The clown could not struggle or defend for at least a second. It was as if his mind was separated from his body. At this moment, the puppet inherent skill that he had always used to save his life could not be used. The guardian beast could not replace his death, but the enemy still had a unique skill. The clown was scared out of his wits, because he saw Yu Yang let go of the Tao Tai blade and reached his hand over, taking off the holy ranked silver mask that was half crying and half laughing. It's over. His face was completely exposed to the enemy's attack. Immediately after, the clown saw a terrifying sword, a sword that he had never seen before, but could make his soul tremble. It was a godly sword with the will to destroy. It was completely formed from energy, black, lusterless, mysterious, like the blade of the Grim Reaper. Gui Tsang's sword. Yu Yang pointed, and the Gui Tsang sword pierced deeply into the clown's eyes. It pierced deeply into the center of the clown's eyebrows. The moment the clown regained his freedom, he immediately summoned his guardian beast. But the moment the puppet appeared, it was dispelled by Little One Li, who was behind Yu Yang with a white light. It was unable to replace its master's damage at all. The clown's screams were 10,000 times louder than the Sky Knight's. The entire heaven and earth exploded with a series of miserable screams. Everyone's ears were about to go deaf. In an instant, they temporarily lost their hearing. The weaker people, the crew members and passengers who were Earth rank level 3 and below, all fainted from the shock. Even the Thunder Griffin that was circling in the sky fell down as if it was weightless, deeply affected by the clown's screams. The clown didn't dare to risk his life anymore. After he pulled the Gui Tsang sword out of his forehead, he immediately used his fastest speed to escape in a panic. Damn you, aren't you arrogant? I'm going to beat you up. Yu Yang's injuries weren't light, but he was victorious, so his morale was high. He waved the Tao Tai blade and chased after the clown like he was beating a drowning dog. After the battle with the Scarlet Emperor, Yu Yang comprehended the super speed. In the battle with the clown, he displayed his full power. The clown was a speed-type ranker. He was extremely fast, agile, flexible and skillful. If it was the female giant, she wouldn't be able to defeat the clown if they really fought. However, Yu Yang, who was also fast, agile and skillful, could be considered the clown's nemesis. Moreover, Yu Yang also had the Gui Tsang sword, a bug level innate sword chi. With the help of the most capable Little One Li, the clown was almost certain to be at a disadvantage. However, what Yu Yang didn't expect was that the clown could still run so fast after being hit by the Gui Tsang sword at his weakest point, the center of his brows. The clown ran very fast. Although Yu Yang had a backup plan, He couldn't use it in time and could only chase after him. The female giant, skeleton man Rachel, wise demon Marshall, Long Xiang and the two heaven rankers all stopped attacking. They stared dumbfoundedly at the one-sided battle where Yu Yang chased after the clown all the way. What exactly happened? Was there something wrong with their eyes? Wasn't the situation the other way around? Wasn't the clown the one chasing after that abnormal brat? Hit, I'll kick you to death, I'll chop you, damn it, why are you running? Yu Yang's speed was slightly faster, but because the clown was escaping, he had the upper hand. Hence, the chase between the two of them became a stalemate. The clown desperately flew on the surface of the lake, brushing against the boundary of death. His feet refused to touch the water, afraid that once he touched the water, he would fall into the lake and be trapped in the boundary of death, becoming Yu Yang's target of slaughter. He brushed past the surface of the lake, and everywhere he passed, water splashed into the sky. Above the clown's head, Yu Yang chased after him closely. He waved his Tao Tai blade and slashed at the clown, forcing the clown to move forward without any chance to counterattack. Yu Yang's storm-like attacks caused thousands of water pillars to appear on the surface of the lake. The spirit-devouring demon sharks that were originally ferocious also fled in fear. Those who were slashed were all decapitated. The clown really wished he could grow 8 legs to escape. His life's greatest life-saving inherent skill, puppet, as well as his puppet guardian beast, were completely suppressed by the little Lamia Loli. Almost every time he summoned them, they would be instantly killed or dispersed, unable to be of any use. Without his life-saving inherent skill, the clown didn't dare to fight. One more slash. He might not be able to keep his life. Hence, he could only use his fastest speed to escape. No matter how Yu Yang slashed, hit and kicked at his back, he turned a deaf ear to it. This kind of depressing battle where he couldn't even counterattack made the clown so angry that he almost cried. This was too much. Where did this abnormal person come from? He had never seen such an abnormal person in his life. Forget about an earth ranker fighting a heaven ranker. He even chased after him, forcing him to his death. How could he live like this? Chapter 6:19. Rumble. The luxurious starry sky cruise in the sky could not be salvaged even though the crew tried their best to save it. It was split in half high up in the sky. The body of the ship tilted and hung down like a sharp sword. In the end, it plunged into the center of the man-eating lake one after the other. The moment the wreckage broke through the boundary of death, the wind formation that could barely be maintained completely collapsed. Without the protection of the wind formation, countless pieces of the ship and all kinds of equipment were scattered all over the sky. The deck that was plunged into the water let out a terrifying groan. Under the impact of the falling gravity and the waves, it burst into pieces. A large amount of lake water gushed into the cabin of the ship, giving off an earth-shattering roar. The water splashed up to 1,000 meters high. The entire lake was like a giant beast with its mouth wide open, greedily devouring the wreckage of the cruise. The passengers had long escaped far away, while the crew members only left reluctantly at the last moment. They stared at the slowly sinking starry sky for a long time. The clown used the momentum of the ship's falling body to crash into it in a flash, attempting to escape from Yu Yang's attack. The cunning clown made use of the cover of the ship's shadow. He crashed into the ship's body and came out from the other side. At the moment when Yu Yang could not chase after him, he won a breath of time. He screamed towards the sky, "Come quickly!" Only with his shout did Skeleton Man Rachel and the wise demon Marshall wake up from their state of shock. Skeleton Man Rachel and wise demon Marshall immediately left the female giant behind and flew down to assist the clown. On the other hand, Long Xiang sighed and attacked the female giant against his will, delaying this strong enemy. Today's battle was what Long Xiang did not want to see the most. However, he could not reject it, because the clown was his ally now. As a righteous royal knight, Long Xiang could not disobey his lord's orders and betray his own ally, even if it went against his own principles. Fu Tu, who pretended to be heavily injured, and the other two heaven rankers whispered to each other, as if they were discussing countermeasures. Good lad, so you are a heaven ranker disguised as a commoner. Wise Demon Marshal thought that Yu Yang was definitely not a commoner. He must have used some kind of ability to disguise himself as an earth ranker. If it weren't for that, everyone wouldn't have been fooled and the clown wouldn't have ended up in such a sorry state. Towards Yu Yang, Wise Demon Marshal did not hold back once he attacked. Golden light flashed in his hand and thousands of silk-like energy threads extended out, entangling towards Yu Yang as if they were alive. This was his entanglement inherent skill. It was similar to Little Wen Li's binding inherent skill, but different. This entanglement talent was only limited to entangling the enemy's body or weapon. In close combat, the effect was obvious. It had no effect on the enemy's mind and soul, so there was no way to truly control it. It only had the effect of binding the enemy's body with the tough silk thread. If the enemy's level was lower than the Wise Demon Marshal, then this entanglement inherent skill would be very fatal. If the enemy's power level was higher than Wise Demon Marshal, then this entanglement inherent skill would instead be a burden. It might even give the enemy an opportunity to counter the main body. Yu Yang immediately recognized the characteristics of this twining silk talent and kicked the clown hard. Borrowing the momentum, he flew backward. Just as he dodged the binding silk, Skeleton Man Rachel waved Heart Rend behind him, slashing at him with an unstoppable force. A perfect slash. This attack imitated Yu Yang's perfect slash, and it was quite a good imitation, at least 80% similar. You're courting death. Yu Yang did not take it head-on, but borrowed Little Wen Li's binding inherent skill. At the moment when Skeleton Man Rachel froze, Tao Tai blade pierced into Rachel's upper and lower jaws like a sword, directly attacking the soul fire protected by the 2 rows of teeth. Rachel was shocked. Luckily, the binding inherent skill only lasted for 1/100th of a second, so it immediately reacted and gave up on attacking. While parrying Yu Yang's crescent moon slash, it anxiously used its 2 rows of teeth to bite onto Yu Yang's Tao Tai blade. Those 2 rows of teeth were usually loose, but when it came to battle, they were extremely hard. Yu Yang exploded with great strength and kept on piercing, but he was unable to advance an inch. On the contrary, Skeleton Man Rachel was scared out of its wits. It never thought that its weakness would be seen through by the enemy, and that the enemy would attack its soul fire immediately. It kept on retreating, trying to get rid of Yu Yang's piercing force. However, Demon Marshal Ji Guang chased relentlessly, waving his thousands of winding silk in an attempt to capture and bind Yu Yang. However, Skeleton Man Rachel's retreating speed was extremely fast, and Demon Marshal Ji Guang actually could not catch up. He secretly cursed Rachel for being a coward. If it was willing to stop, even if it was only for a second, the winding silk inherent skill would be able to bind the enemy tightly. As he chased, he shouted, "Move to the left, move in an arc towards us. No, move a little more to the left." Skeleton Man Rachel also scolded. If it listened to you, it would be courting death. Try having your mouth stabbed with a knife? Arc movement? Bullshit. It was a pity that it could not scold him, or else Demon Marshal Ji Guang would definitely scold him to death. Now, the battle situation became comical again. Skeleton Man Rachel fought with Yu Yang while retreating. What was nailed into its mouth was Yu Yang's Tao Tai blade. There was the stronger Demon Marshal Ji Guang behind, but because his speed was not fast enough, he could only watch helplessly. Rachel did not dare to take the risk of Yu Yang's soul-piercing strike, so he could only maintain the stalemate. In the sky there were 3 figures descending like giant birds. It was Fu Tu and the 2 heaven rankers just now. The 3 of them took the opportunity and intercepted them halfway. What was even faster than them was that the female giant had already sent Long Xiang, who did not use his full strength, flying. Long Xiang's armor was shattered and he retreated pathetically. The female giant rushed over like a war god. She stretched out her huge arm and used only one arm to withstand the attacks of the 3 heaven rankers. Her other arm turned into a fist and fiercely punched Skeleton Man Rachel's head, almost instantly killing Rachel. His soul fire was almost extinguished. Countless winding silk, as if it had a life of its own, bound the female giant's body. The female giant roared and sent demon Marshal Ji Guang flying with a punch. She struggled with both her arms and almost shattered all the solidified winding silk. The clown who had finally caught his breath had finally arrived. He fought against Yu Yang, who used the god-killing dagger to cut off the winding silk for the female giant. He moved his legs as if they were flying and had already kicked hundreds of times in a second. Yu Yang did not retreat an inch and guarded behind the female giant. The Tao Tai blade was still being bitten by Rachel, which slightly affected his fighting style. But even so, he was still evenly matched with the clown in terms of legs, and there was no clear difference between them. On the other side, he was still using Crescent Moon to compete with Rachel's heart-rending. The golden armor Marshal Long Xiang was slightly hesitant. With his pride and honorable heart, he did not want to attack an enemy in a dangerous situation, unless his ally was in danger. So, he decided to temporarily watch the battle. However, Demon Marshal Ji Guang did not have this kind of hesitation at all. With a twist of his hands, the winding silk that Yu Yang had already cut off miraculously recovered. Furthermore, it quickly formed a gigantic winding silk that was like a python, twisting and winding around the female giant's body. "Go, leave this to me!" The female giant roared towards the sky. The muscles on her body swelled up even more vigorously as she struggled against the gigantic winding silk. In the midst of that terrifying explosion, Yu Yang and the clown could not even react in time and were sent flying by the shockwave that she released. That gigantic silk that Demon Marshal Ji Guang was confident that even the ancient titan would not be able to escape from actually broke apart inch by inch. The shock caused Demon Marshal Ji Guang, who was trying his best to use his inherent skill, to bleed from between his thumb and forefinger. His fingers were in so much pain that they felt like they were about to break. The winding silk inherent skill was most afraid of this kind of brute force backlash. In the face of absolute power, all special skills were useless. Rachel, who had just let go of the Tao Tai blade and was preparing to stab the female giant. Seeing the female giant break the gigantic winding silk, it screamed in fear. It immediately turned around and ran. It was too scary. Who could match up to this kind of brute force? Just as Skeleton Man Rachel was about to escape, he suddenly saw Yu Yang shamelessly teleporting back. With a flying kick, Rachel tragically realized that he had returned to the female giant's side. "Want to run? I'll let you run to your heart's content." The female giant caught Skeleton Man Rachel and pressed his skull down. Then, she quickly caught Demon Marshal Ji Guang, who was trying to escape, in her hands. This was a special skill that the ancient dragon was born with, Dragon Claw Hand. When Demon Marshal Ji Guang saw the ancient dragon's image appearing in the sky and a giant golden claw reaching towards void, he knew that something was wrong. He hurriedly used his winding silk to wrap his body like a silkworm cocoon to protect himself. However, it was already too late. His bald head was grabbed by the female giant, one in each hand. On the other hand there were skulls. Hence, with a thunderous roar, the female giant ruthlessly smashed their skulls against each other. In that earth-shattering collision, the shock wave caused the surface of the lake to form huge waves that were tens of meters high. The air current that erupted from it swept across the entire battlefield. Demon Marshal Ji Guang was bleeding from all 7 of his orifices. He was in a dazed state as his eyes rolled back. He fell head first into the lake, unable to even maintain his body in the air. Compared to him, Skeleton Man Rachel was in a worse state. His teeth were scattered all over the ground. It was unlikely that he would be able to get them back. His skull, which was so sturdy that it could not be injured by swords, also had a few cracks on it. The soul fire inside was dim and lifeless. Seeing that the situation was not good, the clown immediately left the battlefield. He could tell that the female giant was overdrafting her life and burning it to raise her battle power. She was definitely invincible now. If he fell into her hands, he believed that he would not be able to keep a single bone in his body. On the contrary, Long Xiang attacked Yu Yang at this moment, preventing him from killing Fu Tu and the other 2 outer heaven rankers. Too slow. Yu Yang slid out of Long Xiang's sword net like a fish. Although Long Xiang's treasured sword stabbed him a few hundred times, he only suffered some skin damage and was not heavily injured. Yu Yang flashed past Long Xiang's side. At this moment, Long Xiang's body froze, because there was a deep fist mark on his chest. The fist aura broke through the golden armor's defense and strangely dispersed the protective energy around his body. It directly seeped into his internal organs, making him very uncomfortable. Long Xiang was shocked. Could it be that even he was not his opponent? As a confident royal knight, this was the first time in his life that Long Xiang doubted his own ability. He realized that the opponent's speed was really too fast. Actually, it looked like one punch on the surface, but in reality, it was at least 1,000 punches stacked on top of each other. Otherwise, it was impossible to create such an effect. Compared to the opponent's 1,000 punches stacked on top of each other, he only thrusted out 588 swords and only hit 302 sword. What if the opponent did not attack with this punch, and instead avoided the battle? Would he still be able to hit him? When Long Xiang thought about this, he could not help but break out in cold sweat. "I'll kill all of you." Yu Yang gathered his strength and prepared to slash out a heavy slash that could shatter heaven and earth. That traitor Fu Tu and the other 2 heaven rankers were so scared that they wet their pants and ran away hurriedly. However, Yu Yang did not attack. Instead, he threw out a god-binding chain and wrapped it around the female giant, who was still increasing her strength and preparing to burn her life to fight to the death. The attacking blade aura turned into a chi-chi that cut through space. In an instant, the lake waves rose to a height of 1,000 meters. Yu Yang and the female giant passed through the waves, as if they had entered a crack in space, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Only now did the clown understand that this brat did not want to fight to the death at all, but wanted to escape. He immediately regretted it so much that his intestines turned green when he hurriedly rushed back. There was no trace of Yu Yang and the female giant. Wise Demon Marshal, who had just regained consciousness after falling into the water, held his head and groaned in pain. "Forget it, don't chase after them. Anyway, Raging Flame has been infected by the dragon plague and is definitely dead. If we chase after them, we will only be dying for nothing." That's right, the appearance of that fellow was an accident. Luckily, the plan to kill Raging Flame was successful. Skeleton Man Rachel, who only had a few broken teeth left in his mouth, was also sorrowfully counting the few broken teeth that he had just picked up. Although it could still continue to fight after being hit by the female giant's head, its morale had already plummeted, and it could no longer raise its fighting spirit. The clown was so angry that his chest was heaving up and down. He felt that Yu Yang and the female giant had definitely not escaped far, but now that his allies had no intention of fighting again, and he was alone, he was unable to do anything to the enemy. He was so angry that smoke was coming out of his orifices, but there was nothing he could do. He clenched his long fingers tightly and took a deep breath. After regaining his calm, he slowly opened his mouth and said, "That was not teleportation. What that brat slashed out was a type of illusion. According to my judgment, that brat and Raging Flame are definitely still nearby. Maybe the 2 of them are hiding at the bottom of the lake. I suggest that we stay for the time being and slowly search. As for the losses, I will take full responsibility." In short, I will not give up until I see Raging Flames Court. If the search is limited to this area, then let's stay for a while longer. After Skeleton Man Rachel and Wise Demon Marshall exchanged their opinions, they decided to stay. The Flying Dragon Special Forces also stayed. However, the Thunder Griffin Sky Knights needed to escort the startled passengers and crew members away. Led by more than 10 silver-armored generals, the majestic group kept moving away. Whether it was the passengers, crew members or the guards of the cruise, they were all injured by the shockwave. Some of them even died unfortunately. But overall it was still alright. Most of the people's lives were protected by the Sky Knight. Among the crowd, One-Eyed Dragon, who had already changed his attire quickly, as well as the skinny mercenary and the others, had also successfully blended into the crowd of passengers. They quietly turned their heads and looked at the lake. As they left with the group, countless members of the Black Skeleton Bandit Group and the Clown Bandit Group were patrolling the surface of the lake. According to the clown's deduction, Yu Yang's last slash was definitely not to cut through space, but to cleverly open the boundary of death on the surface of the lake. Then, he escaped with the female giant and hid somewhere at the bottom of the lake. In fact, that was really the case. At the bottom of the pitch-black lake, Yu Yang and the female giant glared at each other angrily. Staring at each other, both of them had the ability to see in the dark. The pitch-black bottom of the lake was nothing to the two of them. The reason why Yu Yang and the female giant glared at each other was very simple. The female giant did not agree with his actions. She thought that she was the boss and Yu Yang must listen to her. Even if he did not listen, he could not stop her from fighting. And the reason why Yu Yang glared at the female giant was very simple. He felt that she was stubborn. Idiots must listen to smart people. So, she had to listen to him. Boss or group leader were all just fleeting cloud. I have been infected by the dragon plague. I don't have long to live. Can't I have a good fight before I die? The female giant glared at Yu Yang. Use your brain that has been wasted for a long time to think. Do you think I will save a dead person? Forget it, don't even think about it. The only thing you have to do is to listen to my commands. If I tell you to go east, you cannot go west. If I tell you to stand high, you cannot sit on the ground. Do you understand? Yu Yang also glared at the female giant. This female giant's combat power was very high, but she was too stubborn. If she could completely listen to commands, she could be a qualified free fighter. As for gender, forget it. She was not a woman at all, but a barbarian. Since she was a barbarian whose brain was made up of muscles, why would she care about gender? No need. So, Yu Yang ignored the female giant's gender. Chapter 620. The female giant couldn't win against Yu Yang with her glare. She had never met a person who wasn't afraid of her glare. Usually, as long as she glared at him, everyone would shrink back like a quail. But what about Yu Yang? Yu Yang had already trained under Princess Sisai's Rouge Tigress's murderous gaze. He had already reached the realm of impervious to 100 stares. Shui Wuxia had teased him before, saying that his skin was so thick that he was immune to Ah Man's death stare and blood pupil double kill. Although this statement was a little exaggerated, Yu Yang's willpower was indeed different from ordinary people. Not to mention that he had experienced countless life and death battles, even when he had just transmigrated. His guts were much bigger than others. Therefore, glaring at him was a piece of cake for him. Yu Yang wasn't afraid of anything. The only person who could keep him in check, other than Fourth Mother, was probably Ji Zun. It's my bad luck to know you. Go away, I'm digging a grave. The female giant's mood was very gloomy. Not only could she glare at this brat, she couldn't even go out and fight with her life on the line. This was because her body was wrapped by the god-binding chains. If she forcefully went out, she would probably implicate this brat and cause him to die together with her. She felt that she should die with a bang. But with Yu Yang messing around, she couldn't do that even if she wanted to. She could only gloomily dig a deep hole at the bottom of the lake as a grave after she died. She was infected with the dragon plague, so she definitely wouldn't die in a short period of time. Maybe she would have to suffer for a few months or even a few years. She definitely wouldn't be a sick person lying on the bed waiting for death. She decided to commit suicide and die at the bottom of the lake. Although it was far from dying with a bang, it was much better than lying on the bed waiting for death. As a heaven ranker, she also had her pride. If a heaven ranker wanted to dig a grave, it was as easy as lifting a finger, effortless. After the female giant finished digging, she lay down and tried it. She found that it was quite fitting. Just as she was about to commit suicide, she suddenly realized that Yu Yang had also laid down beside her. She was instantly confused. Could it be that this brat also wanted to commit suicide? Die with her? Impossible. He still has that little wife. How could he commit suicide? Not only did Yu Yang lie down in the tomb, but he also used the god-binding chains to drag a large rock over the tomb. The female giant was about to go crazy at his actions. What was this kid trying to do? Shoo! Yu Yang laid comfortably in the tomb and made a shushing gesture to the female giant who was going crazy. The female giant did not understand, but in an instant she felt a special vibration coming from the bottom of the lake. It was like an earthquake, but this vibration was getting more and more intense, as though something was trying to break free from its restraints and drill out from the depths of the ground. In an instant, the female giant understood. It was the ancient creature that had been sleeping at the bottom of the lake. Because of the fall of the luxurious Starry Sky cruise ship, it was startled awake. Now that it had woken up, it was coming out from the bottom of the lake. It was this kid's doing. He split the luxurious Starry Sky cruise ship into two halves. The first reason was to deceive the clown, making the clown misunderstand that his strongest weapon was the astral blade, when in fact, it was the sword chi that was truly lethal. The second reason was to break the boundary of death, causing the wreckage of the cruise ship to shake the bottom of the lake, awakening the slumbering ancient creature. On the surface of the lake, the enemy was definitely still searching relentlessly. Once the ancient creature woke up, it would definitely attack the enemy angrily. This was exactly what this kid had planned. No wonder he did not object to her digging a tomb, and even lied down beside her with a cheeky smile. So, he wanted to use the ancient creature to kill others. She could imagine, when the ancient creature attacked the clown angrily, and she appeared at the clown's most troublesome moment, the enemy would definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Humph! The female giant stared at Yu Yang again. On the surface she was not convinced, but in her heart she still admired him. Even before the battle, this kid had already thought so far ahead and planned everything. He really had a smart brain. She quickly hid her presence, trying her best not to attract the ancient creature's attention. Then, she quietly sensed the surroundings, trying to guess what kind of ancient creature would wake up and cause such a violent vibration. 10 minutes. Yu Yang gestured for him to wait. I can't wait any longer. I'm going to die in 10 minutes. The female giant still wanted to say that in order to unleash her battle power, she had to take advantage of the fact that the dragon plague had not completely corroded her body. Don't be noisy. Yu Yang did not care about her opinion at all, making her so angry that she almost wanted to strangle this kid to death. Yu Yang suddenly stretched out his hand on the female giant's lower abdomen. The female giant was startled at first. Then, she reacted and understood that he wanted to cure her of the dragon plague. In that moment, she felt touched and sorrowful at the same time. To normal people, the dragon plague was a poison that was completely useless. But to a giant dragon, the stronger the giant dragon, the purer the bloodline, and the older the giant dragon, the greater the damage. It was said that the dragon plague was originally a curse of the gods. After millions of years of mutation, it became the dragon plague, and became a pestilence-like poison. If she did not burn her life to fight, she might be able to survive the effects of the dragon plague after a few years. However, because she was extremely angry in the previous battle, she did not hesitate to burn her life to increase her energy. The poison of the dragon plague had already penetrated deep into her internal organs, and there was no way to save her. "Grandpa, it's already hopeless. There's no need to waste energy to save her. Grandpa will go out and kill a few more brats later, and that will be enough." The female giant felt a special energy coming from Yu Yang's hand. It had a certain dilutive effect on the dragon plague, but because the poison of the dragon plague was too deep, it was like trying to put out a cart of firewood with a cup of water. "Shut up." Yu Yang gestured for the woman to keep quiet when the man was working. The female giant was so angry that she almost wanted to strangle him to death and whip his corpse for 3 days and 3 nights. The female giant was actually not a fool. On the contrary, she was very smart. It was just that she was used to doing things with a certain righteousness in her heart. She seemed to have a very strong personality, which made people feel that she was old-fashioned and conservative, and would not change. Her personality had a lot of flaws, but also a lot of strength. If she was to be her friend, then a person with such strong righteousness would undoubtedly be the most loyal friend, because this kind of friend would never betray her. If she was hired to do things, then it would be great too, because she would definitely be able to complete the tasks assigned to her, and even exceed the requirements. She would not have any selfish motives. However, if she was made the leader, then it would be over. It would be impossible for her to use her principles and righteousness to demand all her subordinates. Even if it was achieved, it would be forced, and it would not be truly voluntary. Yu Yang had long seen that the entire Raging Flames bandit group was actually supported by her alone. Without her, they were nothing. Other than One-Eyed Dragon, Skinny and a few dozen mercenaries, the Ox Clan brothers, and the Dead Deer Hunter, the other members were all outwardly obedient. On the surface, they listened to her, but behind her back, they were doing something else. Especially during the test of life and death, those members actually all gave up fighting just because their loved ones were kidnapped. Just from this point alone, it could be seen that she was not made to be a leader. From Yu Yang's point of view, she could not even be a good general to lead troops, much less a commander who could devise strategies. At most, she could only be a vanguard. Therefore, Yu Yang did not make a move, and watched as the Raging Flames bandit group disbanded. There was no point in keeping this kind of group anyway, it was just a waste of time. However, Yu Yang felt that he had to save the female giant Raging Flames bandit group. She was a top-notch fighter. If she was willing to listen to commands, she would definitely be a great killing machine. Yu Yang did not expect himself to be able to subdue her, so he decided to be the bad guy. She could choose not to listen to him. However, if he handed her over to Shui Wushou or Princess Sisai, they would definitely have a way to make her do things. This was the technique of using people, and Yu Yang had already planned it out. During the Plague Dragon Nail incident, if Yu Yang had saved her at that time, the female giant Raging Flames would not have fallen into the trap. However, Yu Yang wanted to use this fact to tell her who the traitor was, and what things could not be done with righteousness. It was not that the righteousness was wrong, but the method of doing things was wrong. Dealing with good people and dealing with bad people definitely could not use the same technique. Rumble. The bottom of the lake trembled, and in the end it was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. A few huge life forms with terrifying energy drilled out from the broken bottom of the lake, making a deafening sound. The female giant was momentarily shocked and suspicious. How did this brat know that there were ancient creatures sleeping at the bottom of the lake? He did not even know such common sense as the Sky Region Emperor. How did he know that there were ancient creatures sleeping in the man-eating lake? Even she, who lived nearby, did not know this secret. What made her even more curious was that the place he brought her to was coincidentally far away from the area where the ancient creatures were sleeping at the bottom of the lake. A few ancient creatures had drilled out, but the place she was staying at was not dangerous at all. Could it be that he did this on purpose? You brat! The female giant realized that this brat was really a mystery. No matter how she looked at him, she could not understand him. There are still 9 minutes left, not much time. Can you cooperate a little? Don't use your energy to resist, relax your entire body. Yu Yang estimated the time and felt that the healing time was a little tight. Seeing that the female giant was not cooperating, he scolded her angrily. Are you a pig? You don't even know how to relax your entire body. The female giant raised her fist and wanted to punch him, but suddenly, an incomparably huge life form swam over. Its energy was terrifying. It was at least a heaven-ranked level 6. She quickly put down her fist, held her breath, and cooperated with his healing. She was very unconvinced, but she would not be so stupid as to go against him. After all, his brain was better. For the time being, she decided to listen to him, just this once. At first, Yu Yang was afraid that she would resist, so he did not release the most innate qi, only a trace. When she calmed down and relaxed her mind, he immediately increased the input of innate qi. This energy was like a spring turning into a stream, then into a small river, and finally like a big river. It surrounded the dragon plague in her body and forced it into a ball. The female giant looked at him in shock. She really could not tell that this brat's energy was actually so pure and huge. It flowed endlessly like a river. Ah! What caused the female giant's entire body to tremble in pain was not only the healing of the dragon plague, but also the nirvana flame that Yu Yang injected into her body. This kind of purification was 100 times more painful than the most painful injury in the world. This was because the nirvana flame was a purification process from the outside to the inside, from the inside to the outside, from the body to the energy, from the energy to the soul. If there was not enough energy or a pure soul, the nirvana flame could directly annihilate a life. It would turn into nothingness and return to its original state. On the contrary, if one could cleanse their marrow and meridians in the state of nirvana, it would be a process of being reborn and improving. The female giant was in so much pain, but she endured it with all her might. She knew that this was the best chance to improve. Chapter 6:21. Not only the surface of the lake, even the shore was shaking. At first, the clown and the rest thought that the female giant burned the last of her life to unleash a power that surpassed heaven rank level 5. However, they soon realized that something was wrong. No matter how strong the female giant was, it was impossible for her to create such a phenomenon. All the bandits who were searching along the surface of the lake flew high in fright, staying far away from the surface of the lake. Those who were less courageous fled 400 to 500 meters high in the air. Even the leaders of Earth rank level 5 and above all flew more than 200 meters high, hiding behind the heaven rank rankers. The bald wise demon Marshal, skeleton man Rachel, golden armor Marshal Long Xiang, and the clown in colorful clothes were all looking at the surface of the lake with full concentration. 5 abnormally huge whirlpools appeared on the surface of the lake. Countless spirit-devouring demon sharks and man-eating fishes tried their best to escape, but it was useless. They were all sucked into the whirlpools, and almost none of them could escape. It's an ancient creature. Wise demon Marshal frowned and made an accurate judgment. It must be the wreckage of the 2 halves of the cruise ship that awakened the sleeping ancient creature. Long Xiang also felt that it made sense. The biggest problem now was, how many ancient creatures were sleeping at the bottom of this man-eating lake? If there were 5 of them, it would be a big problem. Raging Flame, did she fight with the ancient creature after escaping to the bottom of the lake? The energy at the bottom of the lake is chaotic. The water has turned into a whirlpool. We should hide for now. Skeleton Man Rachel felt that it was not a good time to take risk. Firstly, leader Raging Flame, she was infected with the dragon plague and was almost dead. Even if she went to the bottom of the lake and was discovered by the ancient creature, then both sides would be injured and the fishermen would reap the benefits. Everyone be careful. Long Xiang also felt that if the ancient creature had just awakened and did not know the truth, it would misunderstand that the people on the surface of the lake were enemies. Two heaven rankers and the traitor Fu Tu. They looked at each other and felt that it was not a good time to get too close to the surface of the lake. Although the three of them were all heaven rankers, they were far inferior to Wise Demon Marshal and the Clown. If they encountered an ancient creature, it was almost impossible for them to win. Thus, they felt that it was best to escape to 1,000 meters high in the air and observe the situation. If Raging Flame died at the bottom of the lake, then it would be perfect. Without spending a single soldier, he could disappear this powerful enemy of Raging Flame. If Raging Flame escaped at the bottom of the lake, he could outflank her from the sky and intercept her in time. Just as the three of them quietly left the clown's back and slowly rose into the air, there was a sudden movement on the surface of the whirlpool lake. Huge waves soared into the sky. Several shadows appeared in the water like cheetahs that had been lying in ambush for a long time, pouncing on the prey in front of them. The speed at which these shadows attacked and killed was so fast that even the clown and flying dragon were dumbfounded. Faster than a cheetah, more cunning than a fox, more precise than a venomous snake. In a flash, the three heaven rankers who had just left the clown's back, including Fu Tu, were simultaneously entangled by the shadows. The clown's heart sank. If these shadows were to attack him, Long Xiang and the other three, then the four of them would still have a way to escape. But the shadow didn't attack the four strongest heaven rank powerhouses. Instead, it attacked the 3 second strongest heaven rank powerhouses. Among these 3 heaven rankers, even the strongest Fu Tu was only heaven ranker level 2. Fu Tu pretended to be heavily injured in order to force the real heaven ranker to injure himself. His strength had been reduced, so he was probably only left with the strength of a peak heaven ranker level 1. 3 heaven rankers level 1, no matter in terms of reaction or ability, were far inferior to him. Under this kind of attack, he was in danger. Save them! The clown screamed and quickly flew in the opposite direction. He raced with the shadows in an attempt to save his underlings. The death of a heaven ranker would greatly affect the strength of the clown group. The clown definitely didn't want his heaven rankers to die under such an innocent attack. Compared to the clown, Long Xiang immediately took out the sword at his waist and increased his strength, slashing at the enemy. At this moment, he didn't care if he would anger the enemy. Saving people was the most important. Wise Demon Marshal's expression changed. With his sharp senses, he realized that the awakened ancient creature was heaven ranker level 6. Furthermore, it seemed like there was more than one heaven ranker level 6. If he didn't escape, forget about his companions, even he himself would be in danger. However, before he could react, a gigantic shadow rose from the lake, covering the sky as it rushed into the sky. It opened its mouth, and the entire sky became the mouth of a Taotai. Ancient demon shark. The clown's eyes twitched, because he saw a demon shark that was even bigger than the luxurious Starry Sky cruise ship appear in the sky. Its strength was as high as heaven ranker level 6. This kind of ancient giant beast that had an absolute advantage in size, even those of the same level would not be able to fight against it. What made the clown feel the most despair was that the moment this ancient demon shark flew into the sky, it immediately activated the boundary of death. The boundary of death was definitely a seal made by an ancient ranker. It was almost useless against small creatures, but against a huge ancient creature like the ancient demon shark, it was impossible for it to escape. It could only collide with it within a certain range, like a small fish trapped in a big bubble. Once the boundary of death was activated, all the members of the Black Skeleton group and the Clown group were trapped inside. Once they entered the boundary of death, it would be difficult to leave. Of course, the clown didn't think that anyone would be able to escape from the ancient demon shark's huge mouth. The 3 heaven rankers, including Fu Tu, screamed. The clown sadly realized that there were octopus-like tentacles wrapped around their waist. Those shadows were these tentacles. It was just that these tentacles could change color, so nothing strange could be seen in the waves. It was just that when the waves were shot out, they were not transparent in the light, so they looked like shadows. A few extremely long tentacles wrapped around Fu Tu and the rest, then dragged them crazily. No matter how Fu Tu and the rest attacked, these extremely tough tentacles did not budge at all. They greedily dragged the three of them towards the lake. Long Xiang slashed with all his might, but he only managed to leave an obvious scar on the tentacles. He was unable to cut them off. Fire ring! The clown waved his hands and threw a few blazing fire rings towards those tentacles. Those fire rings accurately hit the place where the sword scar was triggered, and started burning. The raging flames burned the tentacles until they shrunk slightly. They seemed to be in pain as they tossed Fu Tu and a heaven ranker aside. Then, a few tentacles wrapped around an unlucky heaven ranker and dragged them down. Wise Demon Marshal, who came to help, shot out countless threads from both of his hands, forming a huge silk rope that wrapped around a few tentacles halfway. Skeleton Man Rachel screamed in fear. The heart-rending in his hands slashed like the wind. In an instant, he slashed 100 times from Long Xiang's sword wound and the clown's fire ring burn wound, and barely managed to cut off one tentacle. The clown chased after it without a care for his own safety, and forcefully pulled the unlucky heaven ranker out of the tentacle's entanglement. The forceful pulling caused the unlucky heaven ranker to cry out in pain. His body exploded into a bloody mist, and his skin and muscles were forcefully pulled out by the tentacle's suckers, forming bloody holes. "It's the Cuttlefish King, run!" Wise Demon Marshal roared and exploded with his strongest power, directly knocking away a few tentacles that had just shot out from the lake. Long Xiang could not be bothered to save the members of the clown group and black skeleton group, who were being devoured by the ancient demon shark in the sky. It was already extremely fortunate that he was able to save 3 heaven rankers. One ancient demon shark was enough of a headache. There was also the Cuttlefish King, which was definitely the overlord of the water. With the two of them working together, there was no way they could win. He grabbed a heaven ranker's hand and prepared to bring him away. Suddenly, a shadow that covered the sky appeared. It was not the ancient demon shark, but another ancient island whale that was even bigger. Although this ancient island whale was only heaven rank level 3, Long Xiang was willing to fight against 2 ancient demon sharks. This was because the ancient island whale was an existence that no human could fight against. Its attack power was destined to be low, but its defense was impenetrable. That kind of huge body, along with its innate domain, was comparable to the boundary of death. A small human could not fight against it at all. The ancient demon shark was bigger than the luxurious Starry Sky cruise ship, and the Cuttlefish King was about the same size. But compared to the ancient island whale, they were simply small fish and shrimp. "Hello everyone, you seem to be very busy. I hope our appearance will not disturb you too much." At the edge of the ancient island whale's left fin stood a smiling young man. It was Yu Yang. He greeted everyone very politely, as if they were from the same hometown that he had not seen for a long time. "Humph." The female giant stood beside him. Her expression was not very good. She clenched her fists tightly and stared at Fu Tu with eyes burning with anger. Fu Tu was so scared that he lost his head. He anxiously wanted to escape. He first dodged the ancient demon shark's devouring, then he escaped to the other side like a shooting star. A black shadow rose vertically into the sky. It was extremely tall and long, reaching 1,000 meters into the sky. However, its body did not seem to reach even a tenth of its height, and it continued to rise. It was a dragon electric eel. Among the ancient life forms, it was at least one of the top 100 powerful life forms. Fu Tu panicked and crashed into its body. The dragon electric eel did not feel anything, but its body automatically activated the lightning domain, directly burning Fu Tu into charcoal. Although Fu Tu was not dead yet, he was close to it. If any child gave him a punch, he would probably die. Yu Yang threw out the god-binding chains from afar and caught the fainted Fu Tu in it. He very leisurely dragged it back, like a bait, and hung it under the ancient island whale's fin. Damn dragon god, after 100,000 years, this damn boundary of death still has the effect of confinement. I hate seals the most, all those who are sealed will be cursed. There was an extremely tiny shadow that floated to the surface of the lake. As soon as he appeared, the boiling surface of the lake became as still as a mirror. Even the huge waves that rushed to the sky strangely shrank back, as if they did not dare to surpass his ankles. This man was similar to a human. He had black skin and a thick beard. On the two sides of his nose, there were even two meaty feelers that humans did not have. Seeing this man appear, the entire place quietened down. Even the ancient demon shark that was chewing on the clown group and the dragon electric eel that was rising to the sky also stopped in the air. It seemed that this man was their leader, waiting for him to speak. This man, who seemed to be heaven-ranked level 1, suddenly knelt down on the surface of the water. He clasped his hands together, as if he was praying to someone. He wailed loudly, "Supreme Dragon God, I admit that I was wrong, all right? It's already 100,000 years, it's enough punishment for me. Hurry up and send someone to break this damn boundary of death. I swear, I won't do bad things in the future. I'm truly remorseful. Hurry up and release me from this boundary of death." 100,000 years have passed. The vast ocean at that time has already become a lake. If you don't let me out, this place will become a fucking mountain. After crying for a while, he looked at the sky and saw that there was no reaction. He immediately stood up and angrily pointed at the sky and shouted, "Dragon God, if you don't let me go, if I get out, I guarantee that I won't do good things 1, 2, 4, and 6 times. I will do bad things. In short, I won't let you off." After cursing for a long time, he knelt on the ground again. "Supreme Dragon God, I beg you, just treat me as a fart and let me go." He couldn't swear, nor could he curse. This guy was completely out of ideas. In a fit of anger, he pointed at the clown and the others. "No, I'm very depressed today. If I don't kill a few people, I really can't hold it anymore. Please come over and let me kill 2 of you. If I'm still very depressed tomorrow, then I must kill 2 more until Supreme Dragon God releases me. Otherwise, all of you will die." The clown and the others were speechless. Who did this black guy think he was? He was just heaven-ranked level 1, and he was already so arrogant. If he was heaven-ranked level 5, wouldn't even the Domain Emperor have to bow down to him? A very wise decision. Yu Yang gave a thumbs up and praised the black-bearded man. "Jiao Dragon King, I support you." Chapter 622. Who are you? The black-bearded man glanced at Yu Yang and asked while yawning. His expression was like a tiger that heard a small mosquito buzzing while it was napping. "I am the person who is here to let you out." When Yu Yang said this, the ancient demon shark, ancient island whale, dragon electric eel, and the giant cuttlefish king that surfaced immediately looked at Yu Yang with anticipation. Actually, other than them, everyone present knew that this brat was bluffing. Forget about the supreme dragon god from at least 100,000 years ago. He didn't even know the current sky region emperor. He was completely a brat that came from the countryside. He was just trying to convince the black-bearded man to be his ally. Humph. The clown did not believe that the black-bearded man would fall for it. Under the supreme dragon god, even the ones who sweep the floor are heaven-ranked level 5. You are just a mere innate level 7, no, innate level 8 brat. How dare you pretend to be the dragon god's messenger? The black-bearded man did not believe him as expected. With one sentence, he saw through Yu Yang's lie. This made the female giant Raging Flame feel extremely embarrassed. She did not even have the face to look at him. However, the black-bearded man still praised Yu Yang a little in the end. You dare to pretend to be the supreme dragon god's man, you have guts. Originally, I wanted to kill you first, but since you are somewhat pleasing to the eye, I will leave you as the last. Thank you. Yu Yang was still smiling. The smile on his face was as bright as the sun. What if I say that I am the supreme dragon god's younger brother? The female giant covered her face. She almost wanted to say that he should stop embarrassing himself. The supreme dragon god was an ancient rancor. If he had a younger brother, he would at least be an old demon that was over 1,000,000 years old. How could it be a 20-year-old brat like you? Even if the other party was blind, he would not be able to fool him. This kind of words was too clumsy, even a fool would not believe it. The clown sneered in his heart. If you want to pretend, can you at least have some common sense? The strange thing was that the black-bearded man did not immediately deny it. He pondered for a moment before asking, "What reason do you have for pretending to be the younger brother of the supreme dragon god?" Yu Yang replied, "Impersonating him would probably be a little difficult." Impersonating his disciple? I already have a master, so I can't be disrespectful to my master. Impersonating his son would be a little disadvantageous, so I wanted to impersonate his younger brother. Who knew that you wouldn't believe me? Puff. The female giant could not help but burst out laughing. It was one thing for you to pretend to be me, but you even told the other party directly. How could you lie like that? Long Xiang, the clown, and the wise demon marshal were speechless. This brat was smart, but he was especially cunning and always schemed against others. If one were to say that this kid was stupid, he was really stupid. He even said what he was thinking in his heart. Even a fool would not believe such a reason, right? Was this kid really stupid or just pretending to be stupid? Why was he so different from the others? Surprisingly, after the black-bearded man heard this, he frowned and said, "Although you look like an ordinary human on the surface and not a member of the Dragon Clan, I feel that you have some connection with the Dragon Clan. Your bloodline seems to be even purer than mine, a member of the Dragon Clan. You said that you are the younger brother of the Supreme Dragon God. I really have some doubts." "Ah? It can't be." When everyone heard it, they were all dumbfounded. Hey, I was just joking. Don't be too serious, it's fun to be serious." Yu Yang hurriedly waved his hands. "You shouldn't be the younger brother of the Supreme Dragon God, but you do have some connection with the dragon race. The problem is that you are very strange. I actually can't see through the truth of your body, as if something is protecting you? Forget it, since it's like this, I'll make an exception and let you go. I'm preparing to be a good person these days. If you meet the dragon race when you go back, tell them that I, the Black Flood Dragon, have changed and ask them to forgive me. At the same time, ask the Supreme Dragon God for mercy. If they keep me locked up, it's easy for me to get a mental illness." The black-bearded man was very sad as he wiped his tears. However, everyone now realized that this guy was very good at faking his tears. His tears flowed down, but he did not have any hint of remorse. "Then I'm leaving." Yu Yang did not stand on ceremony and waved his hands, preparing to leave. "Wait!" The black-bearded man suddenly called out to Yu Yang with a last shred of hope. He thought for a while and asked, "Can you really undo the boundary of death?" "Forget it, this is not something you can undo. Go, I'm getting more and more depressed. I can't undo the boundary of death, but I can use a little trick to deceive the boundary of death and let you escape." "Really?" When the black-bearded man heard that, he suddenly fell on the surface of the lake and rolled back and forth, as if he was having a heart attack. When everyone looked at each other in confusion, he jumped up again and appeared in front of Yu Yang as if nothing had happened. He stood in the air and held onto Yu Yang's hand tightly. "Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and get me out. I'll give you whatever you want. Of course, a man's chastity is out of the question. I swear to protect my chastity with my life." Other than beauties, no one can take it away. I'm getting sidetracked, hurry up and get me out. What do you want, just tell me. Do you want mountains of gold and silver or beauties? It's like this, I offended a very powerful guy called the Sky Region Emperor. Yu Yang expressed that he was a wanted criminal and was not in the mood to save people. Sky Region Emperor? I don't know him. The black-bearded man shook his head. The clown and the rest were speechless. This was the second person they met today who didn't know the Sky Region Emperor. However, according to what the black-bearded man said, it wasn't strange that he didn't know the Sky Region Emperor after being imprisoned for 100,000 years. After all, the Sky Region Emperor had only been famous for less than 100,000 years. When this guy was imprisoned, the Sky Region Emperor might not even have been born yet. Yu Yang already knew that the black-bearded man would say that. He smiled and said, "Actually, it was a misunderstanding. When I was fighting, I accidentally chopped down his boat, which was the wreckage that fell into the lake. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to open the boundary of death and release you guys. So, I did something bad with good intentions. If you can find some time to tell me, I believe the misunderstanding will be resolved." The black-bearded man patted his chest, indicating that he could handle it. Yu Yang first praised him for being responsible, then smiled and pointed to the sky. "Actually, there is a witness up there. Although I don't recognize him, the person looking down at us from the sky should be His Majesty the Lionheart King. With His Majesty the Lionheart King as a witness, I believe the misunderstanding that the Sky Region Emperor has towards me will melt and turn hostility into friendship." At this moment, a formless pressure suddenly came from the sky. Even the ancient demon shark and dragon electric eel that were floating in the sky sank by 100 meters. The members of the clown group and the black skeleton group that had not finished eating all fell down. The lower-leveled ones all fell into the lake. Only those that were Earth-ranked level 5 and above could barely stand on the water. Even the clown, Long Xiang, Rachel and wise demon Marshall had to increase their strength to withstand this formless pressure. Even though the female giant was a super-violent heaven-ranked, she also felt the pressure. She was worried that Yu Yang would not be able to withstand it. She did not expect that there were only 2 people present who did not have any reaction at all. That was the black-bearded man and Yu Yang. The black-bearded man was an old man from 100,000 years ago. It was fine if he could ignore the pressure, but this brat was only 20+ years old. To many of the Heaven Realm races, he was basically a baby. How could he not have any reaction? Pervert. This was the adjective that appeared in the female giant's heart. It couldn't be helped. There was no better adjective to describe this brat. Even humans who grew up extremely fast had never seen such a pervert. Is this the Lionheart King? He's really arrogant. The black-bearded man used his pinky to pick his ear in boredom. He then blew off the dandruff on his ear and sighed indifferently. When Long Xiang heard what he said, he immediately became furious. To him, the Lionheart King was sacred and inviolable. Even if he was a senior, he could not be insulted like this. The enraged Long Xiang waved his sword and slashed out an earth-shattering sword. Sword Chi soared to the heavens. Even if it was a heaven-ranked level 2, if he was hit by this enraged slash, he would probably be heavily injured and fall to the ground. As for heaven-ranked level 1, it was very likely that he would be killed instantly. However, what was unbelievable was that the black-bearded man, who was only heaven-ranked level 1, used his pinky to easily block Long Xiang's angry attack. The sword Qi that could tear the heavens and split the earth was actually blocked by a small pinky. It disappeared in an instant, as if Long Xiang had never swung his sword. Seeing this situation, the clown and the others' expressions changed. Long Xiang stared blankly at the black-bearded man in front of him in disbelief. He was so shocked that he even forgot to keep his sword. The black-bearded man retracted his pinky as if nothing had happened. He looked at the yawning Yu Yang and then looked at Long Xiang. He suddenly laughed. Actually, your sword is not bad. It's just that you are a little too impulsive. Young people should not be too impulsive. Otherwise, you will easily suffer. You should learn from this brat beside me. He has the ability but is still very low profile. Forget it, I think there are not many people like him in the heaven realm. We can't force an ordinary person like you to be like him. When Long Xiang heard this, he almost vomited blood. In the sky, the suppressive power suddenly disappeared. A huge golden griffin that was emitting a sun-like radiance slowly descended from the sky. On top of the golden griffin that was emitting golden light like the sun, there was a mighty man that looked like a deity. He cupped his hands respectfully. Senior Mo Long, Lionheart greets you. He then shouted at Long Xiang, how dare you? Senior Mo Long is a person of virtue and prestige. Long Xiang, you actually dared to wave your sword at him. Quickly beg for forgiveness. Long Xiang quickly kept his sword and knelt down on one knee to beg for forgiveness. The clown, Rachel and wise demon Marshall were all dumbfounded. They stared at the black-bearded man with their mouths agape. All of them had a shocked expression, as if they couldn't believe that the black-bearded man was Mo Long. There were many ancient dragons in the heaven realm, but not every ancient dragon was called Mo Long. Mo Long represented a person's title in the heaven realm. He was a nightmarish killing god. It was said that Mo Long had once swept through the entire South Heaven realm with his own strength. Even the realm master, the three great leaders and various region emperors could not do anything to him. In the heaven realm, Mo Long's bounty was 300 billion. It was the highest bounty in the entire South Heaven realm in the past 10,000 years. Who would have thought that this black-bearded man who looked like he was only a heaven-ranked level 1 was the legendary Mo Long? The female giant was also shocked. She had never heard of Mo Long before, but she knew that this name had a bounty of 300 billion. Normal people might not know, but as a bandit leader, she knew. A bounty of 300 billion, what kind of power did one need to have the qualifications to achieve it? No, just power was not enough. One had to cause great harm in the heaven realm and cause the laws and order of the heaven realm to go out of control because of this person. Only then would one be able to achieve a bounty of 300 billion. Normally, a bounty of 10 billion was already a certain level of harm. In the entire heaven realm, there were no more than 1,000 of them. To be able to achieve a bounty of 100 billion, one would either be a realm master, a great leader, or an ancient ranker who did not like territories and only wanted to train alone. There were only a handful of people in the heaven realm who had a bounty of 200 billion and above. She had seen Mo Long's 300 billion bounty before, but never in her dreams would she have thought that this legendary powerful person was actually the black-bearded man in front of her. So you already knew that Lionheart King was coming and used me as a shield. You dare to scheme against me? How dare you? The black-bearded man was suddenly enraged. He grabbed onto Yu Yang's collar and scolded him non-stop. Yu Yang maintained his calm smile until he finished scolding him. Only then did he reply leisurely. I even dared to impersonate the supreme dragon god's younger brother. Why wouldn't I dare to scheme against a dragon god prisoner like you? Furthermore, if you don't hurry up and flatter me, I will leave in a fit of anger. I reckon that you will have to stay in this broken place for another 100,000 years. You will leave in a fit of anger? Aren't you afraid that he will slap you to death? You must know that compared to a certain person, you are just a tiny mosquito. The black-bearded man's anger was at its peak. Then why don't we give it a try? Yu Yang's smile was extremely bright. However, the black-bearded man really wanted to punch him when he smiled the happiest. The female giant also felt the same way. She realized that the more this brat smiled, the more unlucky others would be. Getting to know you, brat, is probably the most unlucky thing in my life. The black-bearded man punched his own chest twice in an extremely frenzied manner. Then, He regained his composure and even revealed a smile. He reached out his hand and straightened Yu Yang's collar. "Brat, you are quite handsome and your smile is also very nice. I believe that many young ladies will fall for you. Do you think that this kind of flattery will work? You are so handsome, you don't look like someone who will die young. What do you think, Lionheart King? You are naturally blessed by the god. Since you are Senior Demon Dragon's friend, I believe that the Sky Region Emperor will also praise you." The high and mighty Lionheart King's tone on the surface was extremely humble. "It's just that Lionheart's allies seem to have a small misunderstanding with you. Should we bury the hatchet? If it's really not possible, why don't we have a match? According to the Heaven Realm's usual rules, everything will be decided by strength. The winner will be in the right and the loser will have to apologize. What does Senior Demon Dragon think? Lionheart guarantees that no matter who wins or loses, I will definitely not pursue any responsibility in the future. On the other hand, it's the same for you." If the black-bearded man had not just escaped from the seal and had not recovered his strength, he would definitely not negotiate with Lionheart King. However, he had been sealed for too long and his strength was greatly reduced. He did not have the confidence to take down Lionheart King, so he could only bear with it for now. He was depressed, but he had no choice but to agree. He looked at Yu Yang and realized that this brat seemed to have already guessed that Lionheart King would say that. He was slightly surprised and immediately thought more highly of Yu Yang. He nodded his head. "Then let's do it this way. Whoever has the bigger fist will be the one in the right." Hearing this, the female giant was the happiest. Originally, she thought that she would not be able to take revenge today. She did not expect that things would take a turn and they could start fighting again. She was happy for less than 2 seconds when Yu Yang stood out and scolded her. "You, go to the side, it's none of your business." Chapter 623. With regards to Yu Yang's scolding, the female giant was so angry that her lungs almost exploded. If there was no one around, she would definitely fight him to the death. Otherwise, she would not be able to vent the hatred in her heart even if she did not beat him into a pig's head. However, Mo Long, Lionheart King and many strong enemies surrounded her. She took a deep breath and calmed down. Although she was unwilling, she knew that listening to him was the right choice. When it came to using her brain, this brat was still better. "Humph!" The female giant snorted angrily, tacitly agreeing to Yu Yang's words. "It can't be." Long Xiang and the clown were shocked. Everyone who knew the female giant knew her temper. She would rather die than submit and would rather break than bend. People like her never knew what was called compromise. They never expected that this brat would subdue her in one day. How did this brat do it? Skeleton Man Rachel almost wanted to write the word admire in front of Yu Yang. Even Lionheart King was slightly moved. According to his understanding, Captain Raging Flame would never listen to any man's orders, even if it was a powerful heaven ranker. An unruly and violent lioness was actually so obedient? Lionheart King realized a serious problem. Even a strong and independent heaven ranker like Captain Raging Flame listened to this brat. If he could gain a firm foothold in the future, with Captain Raging Flame as his fighter, and gather more heaven rankers, wouldn't he be able to rise quickly? Almost instantly, Lionheart King had the urge to kill Yu Yang. Of course, this thought only flashed for a moment and immediately disappeared. This young man seemed to be inextricably linked to Mo Long. If he really was someone related to the legendary Supreme Dragon God, even if he was a clansman, killing him would put him in a very passive position. Although Mo Long had just been sealed and his strength had not recovered, even so, Lionheart King was not confident that he could defeat Mo Long. Moreover, if he failed, the consequences would be unthinkable. Once Mo Long recovered his peak strength, not only would he be in trouble, the entire South Heaven Realm would suffer from his revenge. Lionheart King was not willing to provoke Mo Long, and could not see through Yu Yang's identity. In order to avoid getting himself into trouble, he decided to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, peacefully being his own Lionheart King. Anyway, strength determined everything. Without that strength, even if he was given the position of a giant, he would not be able to sit on it. As for the young man before him, his growth had nothing to do with him, so he decided to just ignore it. First of all, I would like to thank Senior Mystic Dragon and Lionheart King for upholding justice. We are willing to spar with you and make friends through martial arts. It's just that my strength is low. I hope that you will be lenient and not overdo it. Yu Yang casually pointed at the traitor Fu Tu, who was extremely uneasy. In order to prevent everyone from laughing at me for overestimating myself, I hope to receive pointers from Fu Tu, a heaven ranker. How about Master Fu Tu? Long Xiang and the others were speechless. You're weak? You're weak, but you can beat the clown until he can't even tell north from north? Even though it was partly a scheme, without sufficient strength, the clown wouldn't have ended up in such a sorry state. Under the interception of wise demon Marshall, Rachel and the 3 heaven rankers, he was still able to beat the clown until he screamed in pain. How could he say that he was weak? The clown's expression turned cold. If he could choose, he would rather choose the female giant Raging Flame to fight. Compared to her, this abnormal brat's fighting style was the opposite of his own. Especially now that Yu Yang was injured, it was even more unfavorable. Of course, the clown had enough confidence that even if he couldn't defeat Yu Yang, he would still be able to last for 1,000 moves. He might even be able to gain the upper hand. However, this brat's first target was Fu Tu. The clown didn't think that Fu Tu would be able to last more than 10 moves in his hands. Fu Tu naturally knew his own strength. Fighting with Yu Yang was equivalent to courting death. However, he couldn't reject it, because this was a battle suggested by Mystic Dragon and Lionheart King. If he refused to fight, it would be equivalent to looking down on the two's dignity. It would be suicide. Now, his only hope was that one of the clown, Rachel or wise demon Marshall would step out and fight for him to block this calamity. Otherwise, he would definitely die today. The clown stood there coldly without any expression. His colorful face looked like he was smiling, but in reality, it carried a coldness that kept people at a distance. Skeleton Man Rachel dug out a fat white corpse maggot from his eye socket. He pretended not to see Fu Tu's pitiful and begging eyes. He quickly stuffed the corpse maggot into his mouth and slowly chewed. Only wise demon Marshall suddenly stood up with a smile. He first greeted the black-bearded man Mystic Dragon and Lionheart King, then smiled and nodded at Yu Yang as if he was meeting an old friend. Fu Tu is injured in the heaven stage, so it's rather inconvenient. Furthermore, his skills aren't good enough. I'm afraid that if he uses too much force, he might not be able to hold back and everyone gets injured. That wouldn't be harmonious enough. If you and Leader Raging Flame are willing, Wise Demon Marshall will come out and spar with you. Of course, in order not to take up the 2 seniors' precious time, it's best if we use 100 moves as the standard and stop there? Wise Demon Marshall's suggestion is excellent, it's just that it's lacking some stakes. Yu Yang expressed that his hands would be itchy if he didn't gamble for a day. If that's the case, why don't the winner state a condition? If it's not difficult, Wise Demon Marshall will agree. Wise Demon Marshall understood what kind of stakes Yu Yang wanted. It was definitely the traitor Fu Tu. If he lost, he definitely wouldn't be able to protect him, so he might as well be generous. When the traitor Fu Tu heard this suggestion, his face instantly turned extremely ugly. He could only count on Wise Demon Marshall now. He had to win, or at least tie. Otherwise, he would die a horrible death. Skeleton Man Rachel, the clown and Long Xiang looked at each other. They felt a little pressured by Yu Yang's suggestion to add stakes to the stakes. It could be said that this was that brat's scheme. If he lost, Wise Demon Marshall wouldn't ask him for Leader Raging Flame. But if Wise Demon Marshall lost, Fu Tu would have to be handed over. That brat's suggestion was definitely profitable. Even if wise Demon Marshall was stronger, it would still be a form of pressure. They felt bitterly disappointed by this smiling but murderous human brat. This brat was not even fully grown, but he was already so powerful. If he were to grow up in 100 years, how would he be able to do that? The clown looked at Mo Long and realized that the black-bearded man had already made it clear that he was supporting Yu Yang. He sighed in his heart. It was a pity that Mo Long appeared. Otherwise, even if he had to give it his all, he would kill this abnormal brat. If he couldn't kill him this time, he wouldn't have the chance to kill him again in the future. Demon Marshal, I'll leave everything to you. Fu Tu hurriedly bowed towards wise Demon Marshal. He was naturally grateful that the other party was willing to fight for him. If it wasn't for the clown watching from the side, Fu Tu would have sworn his loyalty. Fu Tu was obviously relying on the clown group. Even though the clown group had lost their power, the clown was a sinister person. If he were to rely on wise Demon Marshal, even if he didn't die today, he would definitely lose his life in the future. Fu Tu didn't dare to offend the clown too much. I'll try my best. Even when wise Demon Marshal fought against the stronger female giant Raging Flame, he didn't feel as much pressure as when he fought against Yu Yang. At this moment, he didn't dare to say anything. Demon Marshal Ji Guang, please give me some pointers. I will definitely benefit a lot from this battle. Thank you in advance. Although Yu Yang spoke modestly, his actions weren't polite at all. One after another, he summoned his beasts from the grimoire world. The first to come out was the hornless dragon Jiang Ying, who was an expert in water battles. Seeing this, Mo Long was a little surprised, but nodded his head slightly. He felt that it was reasonable for Yu Yang to have such a guardian beast. After all, he dared to impersonate the Supreme Dragon God's younger brother. It wouldn't be right if he didn't have a hornless dragon from the Eastern Goblin tribe. The second to appear was the Spirit of Heaven Fire. She was Yu Yang's first choice to deal with Demon Marshal Ji Guang's intertwining silk inherent skill. As for Nirvana's flame, Yu Yang didn't plan to expose it. The next to appear was the Bloody Queen Red, who was holding the Crescent Moon Blade. Her super speed, Banshee Scream, and Whip of Agony were all treasures to win. Without knowing Demon Marshal Ji Guang's ultimate skill, Yu Yang had to use the Bloody Queen Red's speed and special skills to suppress the enemy. The last to appear was Little One Li, who appeared and disappeared from time to time. This Lamia Loli was his greatest help. How many guardian beasts do you actually have? Skeleton Man Lei Chia's jaw almost dropped to the ground. 4 guardian beasts? Isn't this too exaggerated? The female giant Raging Flame suddenly believed that Yu Yang was really the Supreme Dragon God's younger brother. If he wasn't the Supreme Dragon God's younger brother, would he be so abnormal? The clown, Long Xiang and Demon Marshal Ji Guang's expressions changed greatly as they felt their hearts palpitate. They knew that this brat still had hidden abilities that he hadn't revealed, but they never expected that this brat actually had 4 guardian beasts. Other people didn't even have a grimoire, let alone a guardian beast. Even if they had one, they would only have one. How could he be like this? He actually had 4 guardian beasts, and almost all of them were holy beasts. The Lionheart King in the sky and the black-bearded man Mo Long, who was sitting lazily on the ancient island whale with his legs crossed, were all slightly moved. They had seen guardian beasts of higher level, but this was the first time they saw so many guardian beasts. Yu Yang didn't seem to know how to stop while he was ahead. While everyone was still confused, he summoned a few more giant shadows. They were used on Hornless Dragon Jiang Ying, Bloody Queen Red and himself. Heavens, you're too unfair. At this moment, Skeleton Man Rachel was desperately banging its head against the wreckage of the cruise that was stuck in the lake. It had a sad look on its face as if it didn't want to live anymore. It was a heaven ranker without a grimoire, so it was destined to not have much potential in this life. It was only under special circumstances that it suddenly rose to heaven rank level 4, but there was no possibility for it to advance any further. To him, the saddest thing in his life was not being able to contract a summoning grimoire. Now that he saw that Yu Yang not only had a summoning grimoire, but also 5 different guardian beasts, he was so sad that he couldn't cry even if he wanted to. Demon Marshal Ji Guang's mouth was full of bitterness. Although he had a summoning grimoire, his guardian beast was a sky silkworm. Coupled with the entangling silk inherent skill, he was only SOSO. He was originally a little proud of himself. Now that he saw Yu Yang's guardian beasts, each stronger than the other, he was almost embarrassed to summon the ugly sky silkworm. Please enlighten me. Yu Yang pretended to bow politely, but the spirit of Heaven Fire and Bloody Queen Red used this as a signal and charged towards Demon Marshal Ji Guang. Chi. The one who was faster than them was the hornless dragon Jiang Ying, who was standing on the surface of the lake. Other people would be deeply affected by this boundary of death, but only she seemed to be able to receive a huge boost. When she stepped on the surface of the lake and punched towards Demon Marshal Ji Guang, the lake water seemed to have become her weapon, forming a water dragon that was comparable to the electric dragon eel. It carried a dragon's might that shocked even the black-bearded man. It rose into the sky with a thunderous roar and directly attacked Demon Marshal Ji Guang. Oh no! Demon Marshal Ji Guang could have easily dodged it, but who knew that the strange dragon's might would lock him in place? Furthermore, it had a kind of supreme suppression that made him unable to move his body at all. He could only watch as the water dragon swallowed him. Lionheart King could see that this was definitely not the hornless dragon's ability. This was the power of the supreme dragon god's seal. She borrowed it, Sky Silkworm Protection. Demon Marshal Ji Guang was anxious. He hurriedly summoned a giant sky silkworm to protect him. Chapter 624. Compared to the water dragon, the gigantic heaven silkworm was like a bait to a big fish. It was completely incomparable. The water dragon with dragon's might swallowed the heaven silkworm in one gulp. However, Demon Marshal Ji Guang narrowly escaped from the attack. Before he could take a breath, the Bloody Queen Red had already caught up with him. The whip of agony danced like lightning. Countless entangling threads shot out from Demon Marshal Ji Guang's hands. They extended as if they had a life of their own, preparing to tie up the extremely fast Bloody Queen Red. Against such a speed-type enemy, strength alone was useless because she was too fast. The spirit of Heaven Fire charged forward with a windstorm, bypassing the retreating Bloody Queen Red and pounced towards the entangling threads. The materialized entangling threads were all sucked into the windstorm and burned in the Heaven Fire raging flames, turning into thick smoke. As expected, this spirit of Heaven Fire was a guardian beast that could restrain the entangling threads. Regarding this kind of battle situation, Demon Marshal Ji Guang actually had a certain degree of prediction. The water and fire beasts were the main attackers, the speed-type female demon and the control-type snake demon were the support. In addition to the special-type shadow, it was almost a perfect combination. Golden Hoop. Demon Marshal Ji Guang did not only have 3 tricks up his sleeve. His bounty was as high as 650 million, which was even higher than the female giant Raging Flame. Other than Lionheart King and Mo Long, he was the strongest among the crowd. His strength could not be underestimated. A burst of golden light exploded from his body, making him look like a golden statue. Then, he used that golden energy to condense into 2 golden hoops. One golden hoop was placed on his bald head, protecting his head. The other golden hoop expanded to a diameter of 3 meters and rotated crazily, protecting his body. At the same time, a burst of black light exploded from the bottom of Demon Marshal Ji Guang's feet. There were faint golden patterns. It quickly filled the sky, forming something similar to a heaven silkworm. This was Demon Marshal Ji Guang's insect domain. If it was combined with his guardian beast Heaven Silkworm, it would be even more powerful. Gluttonous parasitic worm. Demon Marshal Ji Guang's hands moved quickly and many insect eggs shot out. Every insect egg hatched quickly and turned into various kinds of ugly little insects. They floated in the sky and pounced towards the Spirit of Heaven Fire greedily. Spirit of Heaven Fire whipped out a wave of raging flames, but those ugly insects were not afraid of fire at all. Even when the Heaven Fire burned their bodies, it could not stop their crazy attacks. Their bodies were burned and turned into charcoal. Suddenly, there were adult insects that broke out of their shells and turned into flaming moths. On the other side, the ugly insects that Jiang Ying shot through with her water splashes were actually venom spiders that crawled out of their bodies. When the whip of agony hit him, it was the ghost-face butterfly, which was a mental attack. These ugly bugs were tenacious lifeforms that were impossible to kill. Bloody Queen Red waved her crescent moon blade. The saber radiance was like a piece of cloth. In an instant, hundreds of insects and the adult ghost-face butterflies were sliced in half. However, the strange thing was that those insects that were sliced in half could grow a new head or tail. One became two. Those ghost-face butterflies also self-destructed and their bodies were annihilated, turning into countless insect eggs. Seeing that her raging flames, lightning and storm were unable to harm the enemy, Spirit of Heaven Fire was at a loss and stood on the spot. Then, she turned her head back to look at Yu Yang, hoping that her master would give her orders. This was the first time she took the initiative to give orders to her master, Yu Yang. She did not have such awareness in the past, but now that her intelligence had increased, she started to understand how to think. Although it was very little thinking, it was still a great improvement. Ji. All the insects did not dare to enter the core of Spirit of Heaven Fire. In her core energy was a trace of nirvana flame. This was an existence that all lifeforms feared. These insects bypassed Spirit of Heaven Fire and made use of their advantage in numbers to form a large group of black clouds, chasing after the bloody Queen Red. On the surface of the lake, those insects that wanted to drill into the water to attack Hornless Dragon Jiang Ying met with trouble. Jiang Ying, who was comprehending the Supreme Dragon God's remnant sealing power in the water, emitted a dragon's aura that even surprised the black-bearded man-demon dragon. No insects dared to approach her and could only swim 10 meters away from her, forming a large swarm of insects. The remaining spirit-devouring demon sharks were unlucky. They were completely unable to resist and were dismembered by these weak insects. Not even their bones were left as they all became food for the insects. Not good. Female giant Raging Flame, who used pure violence, was helpless against these gluttonous parasitic insects. No wonder his ranking is above us. The clown, Long Xiang and Rachel finally understood. Why was wise Demon Marshal's bounty at the top? Why was he able to win against the clown and Rachel just by being alone? It seemed like it was because of these ugly insects that could not be killed no matter what. Long Xiang shook his head. He was the #1 close combat royal knight in swordsmanship. He was helpless against these unkillable insects. Although Skeleton Man Rachel had a way to resist the insect's bite, he had no way to get rid of these insects. The clown's eyes were filled with pride. He had a way to get rid of these insects, and even a way to break wise Demon Marshal's insect domain. However, he would definitely not say it out loud. The more miserable and unlucky Yu Yang was, the more advantageous it would be for him. Of course, the clown did not think that Yu Yang would fail. If this abnormal brat could be so easily defeated by the insects, then he would not be a threat to him at all. Not to mention this brat, even that girl who was extremely good at using mental energy and treasures and had the power of the ancient code could easily defeat these insects. The reason why these insects were so savage was completely because of their attributes and instincts. Their true battle power was actually very low. Boring. Yu Yang yawned. In front of him was a sky full of insects that looked like a dark cloud pouncing towards him. He turned a blind eye to them, as if he did not see anything. His calm demeanor made the female giant Lai Yen break out in a cold sweat for him. However, she was the only one who was worried. Lionheart King and the black-bearded man Mo Long did not think that Yu Yang would fail. After all, these ugly insects were just a small matter. The truly powerful beasts in the heaven realm would definitely not form numbers. Normally, there would only be one of them, and very rarely there would be two of them. Beasts that relied on numbers to win in large groups were actually not that powerful. They could only display some special effects when their attributes were restrained. The ugly insects that forced the bloody Queen Red to fly everywhere and forced the spirit of heaven fire to be at a loss, pounced in front of little one Li. The little lowly serpent demon calmly raised a small hand. Her small hand was white and tender like jade. It was as soft as a willow lightly dancing. A ray of bright but not dazzling white light lit up in her hand. This kind of white light did not have any destructive power when it shone on a person's body. It was extremely gentle and clean, making people feel as if they were bathing in a spring breeze. Their whole body felt comfortable, as if they were soaking in a hot spring. However, it was this kind of harmless white light that made Skeleton Man Lei Chia's whole body emit black smoke as he screamed in pain. "Damn it, I'm already unlucky enough today. My bones!" Skeleton Man Lei Chia, a heaven-ranked ranker, felt as if his body was on fire. He hurriedly wrapped himself in a tattered robe and hid behind Long Xiang to prevent himself from being shone on by the white light. With just one illumination, its bones, which were invulnerable to blades and swords, had many small cracks on them. He really did not dare to imagine what would happen to Skeleton Man Lei Chia if he stood still and bathed in that white light. Under the flash of the white light, the dark clouds formed by the ugly insects disappeared like snow melting away. Nothing was left, they were completely annihilated. The swarm of insects retreated frantically in the white light, wanting to escape back into the insect domain. However, no matter how fast they were, they could not catch up to the white light. Other than a few insects that stayed in the insect domain of Wise Demon Marshall, the hundreds of thousands of insects in the sky were all turned into nothingness in a few seconds. It was as if these ugly insects had never appeared before. At this moment, everyone looked at little one Li, who was still a little lowly, with a completely different expression. Divine Beast's will. Lionheart King could not believe it at first, but after little one Li's purification, he immediately determined her identity. It was because she had the supreme divine beast's will that she could easily purify those ugly insects. In front of this kind of divine beast's will, any elemental restriction or rebirth instinct became a joke. Even a super-powerful heaven ranked with a soul would not be able to revive easily after being killed by the divine beast's will, let alone these weak insects with no intelligence. Wise Demon Marshall shook his head and smiled bitterly for the second time. Actually, before he released these greedy venomous insects, he already knew that his opponent would not lose because of his insect. However, he did not expect that his insects would be defeated so quickly and so thoroughly. Encountering a divine beast, these greedy venomous insects' defeat was not an injustice. Luckily, this divine beast had not grown up yet. If she had grown to her peak, Wise Demon Marshall believed that he would have died on the spot if he was hit by her. Killing the swarm of insects in an instant was already considered a slight counterattack. In the vast heaven realm, how many divine beasts were there? No matter how many divine beasts there were, they would definitely be less than a heaven-ranked level 5 ranker. This was for sure. This number also included independent divine beasts. If only divine beasts with summoning grimoires were included, they were even rarer. Divine beasts had always been the dream of heaven-ranked rankers. That abnormal brat not only had 5 guardian beasts, one of them was even a divine beast. No wonder he had the capital to be so arrogant. wise demon Marshall was extremely envious. His sky silkworm would probably never be able to evolve into a divine beast. As for the other normal beasts, there was no need to mention them. At this moment, the clown stared at Little One Lee. His eyes were so jealous that blood almost dripped out. Even in his dreams, he longed to obtain a divine beast. Unfortunately, he did not have this kind of fortune. What the clown could not bear the most was not that he did not have one, but that his enemy had one. Rachel was right, the heavens were too unfair. Why did they love that brat so much? It was fine if he had 5 guardian beasts, but he even had a divine beast. This was too unfair. Skeleton Man Rachel pretended not to see. He could no longer be jealous. Anyway, he did not even have a grimoire, let alone a divine beast. The female giant was wild with joy. She wanted to give Yu Yang a heavy punch. Otherwise, she would not be able to express her joy. This brat was very abnormal, but he was so abnormal that it made people excited. Now that she was mentally prepared, she hoped that this brat could be even more abnormal. Oh, this is getting interesting. The black-bearded man, Mo Long, was originally lying down lazily. Now, he sat up and looked at Yu Yang with a serious expression. Then, he glanced at the Lionheart King who had descended a few hundred meters to get a closer look at Yu Yang. The corner of his lips curled up into a mocking smile. If Lionheart King wanted to kill this brat before, he might not stop him. But now, he would definitely stop him with all his might. Not to mention that this brat was related to him. If those old bastards knew that there was such an abnormal young man in this world, they would definitely be comforted. Whether he could regain his freedom or not, this brat was definitely the key person. Lionheart King realized that Mo Long was looking at him. His heart trembled slightly. Not good, he was too anxious and seemed to have caused the other party to misunderstand. He quickly retracted his aura to show that he did not have any killing intent. With Mo Long here, wanting to kill this brat would be the most foolish action in the world. On the contrary, this brat was still in the growth stage. If he invested in him, he might be able to get a bigger return. Lionheart King was an intelligent person. After thinking for a while, he had already made a new decision in an instant. Of course, no one knew what he was thinking, except for the black-bearded man, Mo Long, who was extremely good at reading people's expressions. He had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. The black-bearded man, Mo Long's mocking smile deepened. His body once again returned to his lazy half-lying position. He crossed his legs and swayed back and forth. In the sky, Demon Marshal Ji Guang, whose beasts were defeated, flew out and officially started the battle with Yu Yang. One held a golden ring, the other a Tao Tai blade. An intense battle broke out. The strange thing was, no matter if it was Lionheart King or Mo Long, they were not watching their battle. Instead, they were looking at the hornless dragon Jiang Ying in the lake. At this moment, at the bottom of the lake, a special energy was faintly being emitted, continuously entering the hornless dragon Jiang Ying's body. Her body gradually emitted a dazzling light. In the end, it turned into a gigantic golden dragon that soared into the sky. Everyone at the scene could feel a great pressure pressing down on their bodies. Lionheart King and Mo Long were no exception. Although the energy of this will was still weak, it definitely existed. Furthermore, it was similar to the little Lamia lowly just now. It was the will of a divine beast. 2 divine beasts? This brat had 2 divine beasts? The clown almost vomited blood. He stared at the surface of the lake, as if he could snatch away Yu Yang's guardian beast by doing this. It was extremely comical. A golden pillar of light soared into the sky. Jiang Ying's summoning grimoire automatically floated in front of her. The golden dragon in the sky revolved around the pillar of light rising from the grimoire and entered her body. The boundary of death that was held up by the ancient demon shark, ancient island whale and electric dragon eel burst like a bubble. It instantly turned into millions of light spots and entered Jiang Ying's summoning grimoire. At this moment, the entire lake was boiling. Countless dragon-shaped splashes soared into the sky, and all of them worshipped Jiang Ying, who had her eyes tightly closed. The dragon whisker lightning snake in the sky, the primordial island whale and the primordial demon shark, as well as the cuttlefish king in the water, all bowed. A supreme dragon might that couldn't be resisted was born from her body. At this moment she was like the legendary supreme dragon god. Oh my god, the divine power that the supreme dragon god left here has been inherited by her. I have suffered a great loss. I have been imprisoned for 100,000 years, and I have not obtained anything. The black-bearded man, Mo Long, jumped up. His face was filled with shock and sadness. Lionheart King was also shocked. Fortunately, he reacted immediately. This was not the real supreme dragon god, but the hornless dragon who had inherited the divine power. Jiang Ying opened her eyes. The entire sky was filled with her will. The supreme dragon's might made the heavens and earth lose their color. Chapter 6:25. The draconic aura was unparalleled, and everyone's expression changed. Luckily it did not last long, otherwise the low-leveled thieves would have been scared to death. When the golden radiance reached its peak, Jiang Ying turned into a rainbow and returned to Yu Yang's grimoire world. Moreover, Yu Yang had a feeling that Jiang Ying was brought to the second divine grimoire by the Qilin girl Bing Yin at the same time. Jiang Ying disappeared without a trace. Everything was like a dream. The 10,000 dragon waves on the surface of the lake turned back into water and returned to the lake. The ancient demon shark, ancient island whale, electric dragon eel and cuttlefish king that bowed down to her spontaneously waited for the draconic aura to dissipate. They immediately raised their heads and regained the arrogance of the ancient beast. Actually, with their strength, even the strongest Lionheart King or Mo Long, who was also their cellmate, would not be so respectful to her. What they truly respected was not Jiang Ying, but the divine power that she inherited. That was the supreme dragon god's divine power. Even if it was just a little bit, it could completely intimidate them from the depths of their souls. In fact, not only them, even the black-bearded man, Mo Long, was slightly respectful in his heart. Even though the supreme dragon god had imprisoned him for 100,000 years, causing him to be extremely annoyed, he had never really held a grudge against the supreme dragon god, nor did he dare to have the slightest bit of blasphemy in his heart. What do you think? Skeleton Man Rachel secretly asked Long Xiang. Demon Marshal Ji Guang's state of mind has been intimidated. He will lose this battle. Long Xiang was also not optimistic about Demon Marshal Ji Guang. Not to mention that brat's abnormality, just the hornless dragon girl's divine power that was left behind by the supreme dragon god was enough to disturb Demon Marshal Ji Guang's state of mind and cause him to lose the will to fight. Let's call this battle a draw. Yu Yang suddenly kept his Tao Tai blade. If they continued fighting, he would definitely gain the upper hand. However, it would be difficult to heavily injure Demon Marshal Ji Guang. It would be even more difficult to kill him. Moreover, in front of Lionheart King, Yu Yang would definitely not reveal the secret of World Exterminating Wheel and Nirvana Flame. Yu Yang even regretted using the innate invisible sword Qi Gui Tsang sword to attack the clown earlier. At that time, he thought he would be able to severely injure the clown. He didn't expect the clown's weakest attack, the Heart of the Brow's sword, to be able to escape so quickly. In this battle, Yu Yang's greatest comprehension was the power of the sword, not the power of the sword. The power of the Gui Tsang sword was definitely enough to kill the clown, but because he was unable to unleash the full power of the sword, he was unable to intimidate the clown, so his ambush failed. If he could comprehend the sovereign's heart and reach the true sovereign realm, the result would be completely different. In other words, if Ji Zun were to use the same power to kill the clown, then the clown would definitely die. This was the difference between Ji Zun and Yu Yang. It wasn't that Yu Yang didn't have the ability to kill, it was just that he hadn't comprehended the true sovereign realm that Ji Zun had. This sovereign realm, Yu Yang realized, did not exist in heaven-ranked rankers like Ji Guang, the clown, Long Xiang and Lei Chia. The only one who had truly comprehended this realm was the black-bearded man, Mo Long. Even the 40 billion bounty Lionheart King, although he had comprehended it a little, he didn't have the absolute realm that Ji Zun and Mo Long had. Through comparison, Yu Yang really couldn't imagine, how did Ji Zun train to this level? 3 months later, at Lionheart King's Royal Griffin Square, I sincerely invite leader Raging Flame and this little friend to come and fight. The clown actually really wanted to fight with Yu Yang, but he knew his own limits. Previously, when he was heavily injured by the sword on his forehead, it looked like he had suppressed it, but his body was greatly damaged. He had the confidence to fight with Yu Yang and remain undefeated, but it was impossible to kill Yu Yang one step further. Helplessly, he could only choose to suppress it and fight for 3 months. Although 3 months was too short for him to recover, the clown knew that if the hornless dragon girl who inherited the dragon god's remnant divine power completed her transformation, then he wouldn't have to fight anymore. 3 months. He reckoned that the hornless dragon girl was still evolving and couldn't come out to fight. After all, the dragon god's divine power wasn't so easily inherited. The clown's choice was the result of careful consideration. He was even thinking of a way to deal with the spirit of heaven fire and the bloody queen. As for the little serpent Loli that had never left, the clown didn't have to think about it for now, because he had no way to deal with her. Even Lionheart King felt that this little Loli wasn't easy to deal with. When all the war beasts on the scene bowed respectfully to the hornless dragon girl who inherited the divine power, she was the only one who didn't move at all. This was definitely not just the pride of a divine beast, but the bloodline that came with her body. It should be noble and outstanding. Even if the hornless dragon girl inherited the divine power, it was definitely not above her origin. No problem, let's fight again in 3 months. Yu Yang nodded and promised. After this battle, he had already gained some enlightenment. Although he had yet to fully comprehend the heart of a paragon, he was already very close to it. In fact, he even had a slight understanding of it. As long as he had enough time, he believed that the door to the true paragon realm would open to him. 3 months was not a long time, but for Yu Yang it was enough. Senior Mo Long, Lionheart will take his leave. Seeing that Yu Yang nodded and agreed, Lionheart King bowed slightly to the demon dragon, then rode the golden griffin that emitted light like the sun and left instantly, disappearing without a trace. Long Xiang also hurriedly bowed to the demon dragon, then quickly followed behind his master. After the clown bowed, together with Skeleton Man Rachel, they ignored Fu Tu's pleading gaze and left heartlessly with the 2 heaven rankers and the remaining subordinates. No, no. The traitor Fu Tu shook his head in despair and reached out to the clown, hoping that he would leave with him. However, the clown didn't even look at him. Fu Tu was filled with regret. He felt that he had been abandoned by the other party. Of course, this was very normal. In a situation where he had no value, who would offend a pervert like Yu Yang for a useless person? Moreover, there was still the ancient rancor Mo Long behind them. After Lionheart King left, the longer they stayed here, the more dangerous it would be. Mo Long's power had not recovered, but how could the ancient demon shark, electric dragon eel and cuttlefish king be weak? Furthermore, Mo Long had once used his pinky to block Long Xiang's full power slash. Thinking of this, the clown and Rachel felt a chill in their hearts. Wise Demon Marshal looked at Fu Tu and sighed. I'm sorry, I can only do this much. He bowed slightly to Yu Yang and Mo Long. Then, he turned and left. So boring. Mo Long yawned. He wasn't interested in the traitor Fu Tu who was crying and kneeling in front of the female giant. He floated in front of Yu Yang and sized him up carefully, as if he wanted to get to know him again. He patted Yu Yang's shoulder. "Brat, I have high hopes for you. Maybe you really are Supreme Dragon God's younger brother. Otherwise, why would your guardian beast be able to inherit the divine power even though I have stayed here for 100,000 years? However, this is also good. Heaven Realm needs more young people like you, so that it won't be lonely. Oh right, you haven't made a fortune yet. As your boss, I'll personally sponsor you an ancient island whale. If you have any good things in the future, don't forget about me." "Who's the boss? You want to be my boss? No way, you're not qualified." Yu Yang strongly protested. "If I'm not the boss, then who are you? In terms of age, I'm the boss. In terms of strength, I'm also the boss. No matter what, I'm definitely better than you. Don't tell me you still want to be my boss?" The black-bearded man grabbed Yu Yang's collar and threatened him. "Why don't we have a competition and use our fists to decide who's the boss? There's no need to compete. I suddenly realized that having a temporary boss is not bad. I'll accept the ancient island whale." Yu Yang wouldn't start a war with Mo Long. That was definitely looking for trouble. Temporary boss? The black-bearded man didn't understand. How could there be a temporary boss? "It's like this. You're stronger than me now, but I might be stronger than you in the future. Since it's like this, it's not suitable for me to call you boss. How about this, we'll take turns being the boss. Whoever has the ability will be the boss. Right now you're the boss. In the future, when I'm stronger than you can call me boss." Yu Yang had never suffered a loss in his life. "Brat, you still want to surpass me?" The black-bearded man Mo Long laughed, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "That's hard to say." Yu Yang was full of confidence. "Alright, I've decided to give you a chance. If you surpass me, I'll call you boss." The black-bearded man patted Yu Yang's shoulder and laughed. "I hope you can hurry up, don't make me wait too long. Why don't we sign a contract?" Yu Yang took out a contract out of nowhere. "Take it away, I get a headache every time I see a contract. This thing has caused me to suffer a loss for my entire life. Even now, I still regret signing a contract with you. You will never be able to trick me again." The black-bearded man wasn't stupid. He refused to sign the contract. It seemed like he had indeed suffered a loss in this area before. It was really like, once bitten, twice shy. With your IQ, it's normal for you to suffer a loss. However, suffering a loss is a blessing. There's no harm in suffering a little more. Yu Yang's smile was really annoying. "I'm so angry." The black-bearded man was instantly enraged. He really wanted to beat up Yu Yang, but he was afraid that if he did, the act of using the ancient island whale to bribe this brat would go to waste. Hence, he endured it. Before he left, he didn't forget to remind Yu Yang. "Brat, look at how I'm the boss. I casually gave you an ancient island whale. In the future, if you have any benefits, don't forget to show filial respect to me. Hey, that's right, if you see Supreme Dragon God and those other old fellows, remember to put in a few good words for me. I'll go and hide for a while. You can go to that broken plaza yourself. Remember to tell them my name. With me as the boss, the Lionheart King wouldn't dare to lay his hands on you." "I understand. In the future, I'll be your boss. I'll also protect you." Yu Yang smiled and waved his hand. "You." The black-bearded man was so angry that he almost fell off the ancient demon shark's back. The ancient demon shark carried the black-bearded man and swam in the sky. The Cuttlefish King accompanied them. That extremely long electric dragon eel circled around them. Under the setting sun, they walked further and further away. The extremely well-behaved ancient island whale stayed behind. It wasn't the demon dragon's beast, it was just a fellow inmate. Originally, it wanted to follow the demon dragon, but now that it saw that Yu Yang had a bright future, it didn't mind and was very happy to stay behind. It didn't have high expectations. As long as it could enjoy freedom, that was enough. On its back, the female giant was beating Fu Tu with extreme hatred. She controlled the strength of her hands, not wanting to beat this traitor to death so easily. She wanted him to suffer the greatest torture. Fu Tu begged with all his might. He hugged his head with both hands and curled his body to protect himself. In front of the female giant, he had no chance to retaliate. Furthermore, there was an even more abnormal Yu Yang. Other than pretending to be pitiful, he had no other choice. Wait a minute, don't beat him to death. Yu Yang advised the female giant Raging Flame leader, indicating that this traitor was still useful. What? The female giant didn't understand. What was the use of this kind of person? I have a watchdog that urgently needs a nutritious meal. If it eats this traitor, it would probably be able to level up. Yu Yang explained that the traitor could actually be made into dog food. No, don't, big sis, please just kill me. I can't become dog food. The traitor Fu Tu, who was begging with all his might just now, was scared half to death. Now, he was begging the female giant to kill him quickly. He really didn't dare to imagine the pain of becoming dog food and letting a lowly dog slowly eat his body. Compared to being eaten by a dog, he would rather die. Of course, this choice wasn't in his hands. Chapter 6:26. As night fell, the ancient island whale slowly flew away from the lake. Just like a giant floating island. Slowly, it flew towards Rainbow City. What should we do next? The female giant turned out to be a very opinionated person. After this battle, she suddenly felt that she was really not suitable to make decisions. Being a leader was not her forte. If there was someone to arrange the battle plan, she would only be in charge of charging and breaking through enemy lines. She felt that she should have a good talk with Yu Yang. If he was willing to be the strategist and rebuild the Raging Flame Bandit group, it would be a good idea. How about we work together to rebuild the Raging Flame Bandit group? I can listen to you, but the name of the bandit group must be Raging Flame. This is my father's dying wish. Oh right, I am called Raging Flame. What's your name? What's the little girl's name? Don't start saying I or I. You are the leader of the bandits, not the leader of the bandits. You have to change this annoying catchphrase. Furthermore, didn't your group disband? If you ask me, don't build any bandit group anymore. You don't know how to be a leader at all. Yu Yang's words were very direct, hitting the nail on the head. What? The female giant immediately glared angrily at Yu Yang. Then pretend I didn't say anything. Yu Yang yawned unconcernedly. Let the little girl come out. I'll talk to her. It's a waste of time talking to you. The female giant prepared to take the backdoor route. She knew that it would not be easy to change Yu Yang's opinion, but if she could convince Anan, she had some confidence. What she did not expect was that not only did Anan not let her convince her, she even tried to persuade her. Anan advised gently, Sister Raging Flame, even if those people are your father's subordinates, they are not worth leading. These people, other than a few, most of them have no loyalty at all. If you fight with these people, you will only get betrayed. There is no rush to build a bandit group, and we don't need a lot of people. If 10 people are all elites, then it is better than 1,000 or 10,000 cowards and traitors. Right now, we shouldn't be in a hurry to find people to rebuild the chivalrous bandit group. Instead, we should cultivate. Once we have the strength, we can rebuild the group at any time. The female giant muttered to herself for a while, but third brother and the rest are still here. They are loyal, I cannot abandon them. Yu Yang smiled. Actually, we have no intention of interfering with your rebuilding of the guild. Perhaps they are in Rainbow City. Even if they are not, you can still gather them in Rainbow City. I admire your ideals, but it's hard for us to embody them because we have different ideals. Anan secretly touched him with her hand, signaling him not to reject her too directly, in case he hurt the female giant's heart. She felt that it was not easy being a female giant. He had inherited his father's will, held fast to his ideals, and single-handedly supported the entire chivalrous bandit group. just like how he had been responsible for the revival of Hundred Flower Valley in the past. The only difference was that his aunt had never asked him to do anything. She only hoped that he could grow up well, because growth was the first and most important step of the entire revival. At that time, even if no one pressured him, he still felt immense pressure. It was even harder for leader Raging Flame to inherit his father's will, work hard to revive the Raging Flame bandit group, and lead thousands of people to survive. As for Yu Yang's direct rejection of her invitation, the female giant had already expected it. But she still felt sad. For the first time, she felt that she was alone and helpless. No one was willing to help her, no one was willing to support her. The female giant felt an indescribable sadness and anger. But on the surface, she pretended to be strong, and put on a nonchalant attitude. She pretended to laugh heartily. Everyone has different ideals, this is normal. Whether you guys join the Raging Flame Bandit group or not, I will treat you guys as my friends, my best friends. When we reach Rainbow City, I will arrange the best wedding for you guys. There's no need. Actually, we sneaked out from home. We will go back after a few days of fun. Inan stuck out her tongue mischievously, and smiled apologetically at the female giant. Sister Raging Flame, Inan appreciates Sister Raging Flame's good intentions. But marriage is such a big event, it still needs a parent to preside over it. I was just joking before. Are you guys leaving tomorrow? The female giant was shocked, and immediately looked at Yu Yang. Something seemed to have happened in our hometown. I am not at ease, so I want to go back and take a look. I will come back to Rainbow City later. Yu Yang originally did not have any plans to return to Tong Tian Tower. But in the Grimoire world, he received a message from Hai Yingwu using the tricolor map. Thousand Goblin King's substitute seems to be moving. If it was something else, Yu Yang would not pay much attention to it. But this matter was related to Thousand Goblin King, so he had no choice but to go back to Heaven Realm. As for accompanying Inan to Rainbow City to play, he could only come back next time. Inan was not the kind of girl who did not know the gravity of the situation, so she could naturally understand. Of course, refusing to join Raging Flame's chivalrous bandit group had nothing to do with returning to Tong Tian Tower. It was purely because Yu Yang and Inan did not agree with the female giant's ideals. It was not that this kind of righteous ideals was bad, but if one wanted to use this kind of ideals to survive in Heaven Realm, it would be very difficult. Furthermore, it was easy to cultivate lazy people and carry extra burdens. Not everyone could be a man of steel, not everyone could be a brave warrior who faced death. Hence, using the female giant's righteous ideals to build a group would only lead to more betrayal and failure. Yu Yang and Inan also knew that if they rejected the other party, the female giant would be very sad, but it was better to understand that rejection was better than lying and deceiving. So it's like this, I understand. The female giant thought that Yu Yang was using an excuse to reject her, and was even sadder. She suppressed the sadness in her heart and nodded. If you and my sister get married, you must invite me to your wedding. Definitely, but Sister Raging Flames will probably have to wait for a while. Inan used her hand to touch Yu Yang again, hinting for him to comfort her. It's getting late, everyone should rest early. Yu Yang knew that it was not easy to convince the female giant. He had to pretend to be the bad guy to the end. With Shui Wuxiao and Princess Sisai, and with Inan as a mediator, he should be able to subdue her in the future. This kind of thing could not be rushed. It was good to let her hit a wall temporarily. As long as she did not fail, she would not give up. The female giant's lips trembled slightly, as if she wanted to say something. In the end, she did not say anything. She only slowly raised her hand and bid farewell to Yu Yang and Inan. When Yu Yang and Inan returned to the Grimoire world, she patted the ancient island whale hard, hinting for it to stop. She howled towards the sky, and streaked across the night sky like lightning. Her lonely figure disappeared into the distance. She now knew that she was wrong, and also knew that what Yu Yang and Anan said was right. However, she could not convince herself to let go of her righteousness for the time being. After all, it was something that she had inherited from her father, something that she had always adhered to. She kind of wanted Yu Yang to persuade her a few more times, maybe she would feel a little better in her heart. But this brat did not say anything. Not even a word of goodbye. This was too infuriating. Even if he was right, he could not reject people like this. This was too much. The female giant who had never shed tears before suddenly had a strange feeling of wanting to cry. Her eyes felt sore. Tong Tian Tower, Soaring Dragon Continent. Yu Clan Castle, Martial Arts Training Grounds. Yu Shan, who usually sat on the felt chair in his room, suddenly came out for a walk. Yu Shan's pale and bloodless face looked extremely haggard and lifeless. However, even though his cheeks were emaciated, his eyes were still as bright as before, like an undying light in the dark. With this pair of bright and clear eyes, other than his sickly appearance, he had a wise and far-sighted aura that he usually did not have. He looked more like a scholar who walked under the morning dew than a sick man who was bedridden. Seeing him come out so early, the Yu Clan disciples were a little surprised. A few servants hurried over to serve him, afraid that Yu Shan's body would fall sick from the morning dew. However, Yu Shan smiled and waved his hands, indicating that they did not need to care about him. He just wanted to walk around. Fatty Hai, Yi Kong and the others had already broken through to the innate realm, and were quietly cultivating in the hall with the old fox, heavenly imperial guardians and the others. Today, only Lu Yi, Golden Elf Bao Er and the others came out for morning training. They knew about Yu Shan's past, but because of his performance in the underground base, they felt that Yu Shan was a good father and forgave him for his past. Moreover, the injured Yu Shan was only injured because he protected the Soaring Dragon Continent from the Black Hell Army's invasion. When they saw Yu Shan walking over, they bowed as juniors and made way for him. All right, you guys continue your training. Yu Shan rarely greeted them. Maybe it was because he was in a good mood. He nodded and smiled. Do you want me to call Sister Yu to accompany you? Lu Yi was kind-hearted and asked. No, let her rest for a while, I'll walk by myself. Yu Shan waved his hands lightly and suddenly turned to ask Lu Yi. Lu Yi, is your master called Mr. Zhigo? Speaking of which, Mr. Zhigo and I were classmates back then. More than 20 years ago, I was an exchange student at Tian Luo Academy. At that time, I was in the same class as Mr. Zhigo. Mr. Zhigo? I don't think I've heard of this name before. Lu Ye's master is Teacher Aning. Lu Yi felt strange. Why did Yu Shan say that his master was Mr. Zhigo? I'm sorry, I must have remembered wrongly. I don't know Teacher Aning, but Mr. Zhiji's wife seems to be called Ning Kuer. Back then, Mr. Zhigu and his wife fought side by side against the Demon Clan. We went through life and death together and forged a deep friendship. Sigh, I'm old, my memory is blurred. Yu Shan waved his hands, indicating that he was fine and walked away. Patriarch, can you tell us about the past? Lu Yi saw that his lonely figure was quite pitiful and chased after him, preparing to chat with him. Actually, there's nothing much to say, it's all in the past. Seeing Lu Ye's concerned eyes, Yu Shan nodded and gestured for her to sit down. He also sat on another stone block and began to recall. That was a long time ago. I remember that time, it was the day that your sister Yu was born. We were surrounded by the Demon Clan and had no reinforcements. Father knew that it was the Demon Clan's plan to lure the enemy. He would rather see me, the eldest son of the Yu Clan, die than agree with His Majesty's decision to rescue us. In fact, at that time there were no more soldiers to send. Even the servants of the Imperial Palace and Yu Clan Castle had been sent to the battlefield. Only the old, the weak, the women and the children were sent. We were almost certain to die. We were just waiting for the last wave of the demon clan to attack and fight for our lives. Of course, we also hoped that third brother would come back. At that time, third brother was very young, but his strength was not weak. He and fourth brother came here secretly without our father's knowledge. We were in a difficult situation and hoped for a miracle to happen. After all, no one really wanted to die. Your sister Yu was born. At that time, the weather changed and it rained heavily. A kind of brilliance descended from the sky and cleansed the entire bloody battlefield. Even the grass under the pile of corpses became lush green. The originally withered flowers bloomed again. The demon clan was very frightened, but our morale was greatly boosted. We fought our way out with all our might. In the end, with great difficulty, we met up with third brother and fourth brother, who were covered in cuts and bruises, and escaped together. It can be said that it was you, cough cough cough. It was your sister Yu's birth that allowed us to survive. Sister Yu is too great. No wonder she has a peaceful nature. It turns out that there was such a miracle in the past. Lu Yi exclaimed in admiration. You're not bad yourself. You're also a good child. Yu Shan smiled and nodded. Patriarch, please tell us a story tomorrow. Lu Yi pitied Yu Shan's loneliness. Bao Er, on the other hand, was addicted to listening to stories. They all invited Yu Shan to tell them a story tomorrow. Tomorrow? I might be a little busy. Let's talk about it when there's a chance. You're all good children. You must work hard and be happy. Yu Shan raised his head and looked at the sky. The sun rose from the east. He stood up and walked away slowly, his body covered in golden light. From afar, he suddenly came back with a smile and waved to Lu Yi. Classmate Lu Yi, please send my regards to your esteemed teacher. Goodbye. Okay, goodbye. Lu Yi nodded obediently. A trace of confusion arose in her heart. Could it be that Yu Shan really knew her teacher? She immediately dispelled this thought. Forget it, this was not important at all. Chapter 627. Soaring Dragon Continent, Forgotten Worries Peak. On top of the rocky peak that was like countless sharp swords piercing into the sky, there was a figure wearing a cloak, quietly standing there. He was extremely patient as he stood there for 3 hours, not moving an inch. To him, time was the most meaningless thing in the world. As for patience, this person had as much as a millionaire's pocket money. The Black Hell King hid himself in the dark and observed for a full 3 hours. After confirming that there was no danger, he floated up and cautiously landed on the other side of the shadow. He was 1,000 meters away from the other peak. Black Hell, you've changed. The figure commented. Who are you? Black Hell King was a little bewildered. He didn't know this man, but he recognized him and seemed to be very familiar with him. Black Hell King didn't like this feeling. He hated not being able to see through people, for example, Yu Yang. He had never seen through him. Because of Yu Yang's rise, he couldn't get rid of it. It was like a fishbone stuck in his throat. It was extremely uncomfortable. Now, there was another figure, making Black Hell King feel uneasy. If it was someone else, he would definitely not come. He didn't want Sky Execution to get a chance to kill him in order to improve and complete his journey to Heaven Realm. In order to improve and complete his journey to Heaven Realm, Sky Execution had already decided to kill him to improve his skills and realm. Black Hell King definitely wouldn't give Sky Execution this chance. If it was in the past, Black Hell King wouldn't be afraid of Sky Execution. But now that his body had not recovered, he had to be cautious. But that letter was too strange. It actually contained the most taboo information for Black Hell King, so he had no choice but to come. The figure didn't reply. He didn't even turn around with his back facing Black Hell King. He only spoke slowly. Do you know why I want to meet you? It's to see if you still have any value. Black Hell, you have disappointed me. Ever since your defeat in the death arena, you have been completely scared out of your wits by Yu Yang. You even have to be on tenterhooks and sneak around to meet me. You are not even as brave as a woman. You no longer have the possibility to fight against him. It's impossible now, and even more impossible in the future. So, you no longer have any value. Black Hell King felt that the figure's voice was strangely familiar. He became even more suspicious. He was on guard, but he sneered. Who do you think you are? If you have the ability to kill me, why waste your breath? Other than Ji-Zun, even the Yu clan's third young master can forget about killing me. The shadow did not deny it. On the contrary, he agreed with this point. Indeed, the betrayal talent is very practical, but it also has a fatal weakness. Weakness? The Black Hell King naturally knew what the weakness of his inherent skill was, but he didn't think that others would know. Even if he knew, he wouldn't be able to exploit that weakness. If it could be used, the Yu clan's third young master would have already used it in the death arena. Why wait until now? The biggest reason why the Black Hell King dared to come was because he was confident that he could leave safely. With the betrayal inherent skill, no one could kill him. Unless the Prison Emperor revived or Ji-Zun wielded the Prison Emperor's divine weapon, even the Yu clan's third young master, who possessed the world-exterminating wheel and nirvana flame, would not be able to kill him. The shadow raised his palm and waved it lightly. His posture was extremely graceful and natural. A holy scripture floated in front of him, shining with endless splendor. The Black Hell King's heart skipped a beat. The strong intuition of a heaven-ranked ranker made him feel that the shadow in front of him was dangerous. The strange thing was that the shadow didn't emit any killing intent. This was what puzzled the Black Hell King the most. Could it be that the shadow was just showing off? Your betrayal inherent skill is a mutation. I believe that you understand that inherent skills can be changed. Actually, the increase in inherent skills is a kind of change, but that kind of change is not a qualitative change. When a warrior's body, thoughts, energy and realm undergo a complete change, then inherent skills can also be changed, just like you in the past. The shadow slowly raised his right hand. It was a young and powerful palm with slender fingers. It was full of vitality and energy. The shadow didn't turn around and only used his right hand to point at the Black Hell King. You might not know what my inherent skill is. My inherent skill is mutation, inherent skill. Under the effect of my mutation, inherent skill, any person, any object, any life, any ability, and even any inherent skill can be changed. What? The Black Hell King started to understand what the other party meant. This shadow could use mutation, inherent skill to change his betrayal, inherent skill. From now on, your body and inherent skill have a 50% chance of changing for the better or for the worse. The shadow's right index finger shot out a silver beam of light at an extremely fast speed. The Black Hell King didn't even have time to react before the silver beam hit his forehead. The Black Hell King was shocked. He couldn't believe his own reaction. How could he not react when he was on full alert? What was the reason? Was it because the other party was strong? No. It wasn't like that. Was it because of the other party's treasure? Special skill or domain? Neither. That was a type of deception that was laid out in the open. The other party didn't have any killing intent and didn't have any killing intent when he attacked. He was able to deceive his own instincts and also his mental state. Furthermore, that kind of inherent skill was special. The silver beam shot out was extremely fast. With just one sentence, he was tricked by the other party using the simplest of techniques. He was easily tricked by the other party when it was impossible to trick him. The Black Hell King's face immediately darkened and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Your body has weakened, but your inherent skill has become stronger. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. Haha, I wish you good luck. The shadow waved his hand and prepared to leave. Stop right there, who are you? The Black Hell King was determined to kill this mysterious shadow. Actually, there's no need for me to tell you, because you're not far from death. Telling you would just be a waste of breath. But I want to see the shocked expression on your face. Do you want to know who I am? Come, let me show you. The shadow suddenly appeared in front of the Black Hell King. His face was less than 3 inches away from the Black Hell King's face, almost nose to nose. Ah, it's you? No, you're not him. Oh God, so it's you. The Black Hell King's face was full of fear, as if he had seen a ghost. Did you guess correctly? It's me. The shadow said in a relaxed tone. The Black Hell King's face was full of sweat and his hands were trembling. You should look for Yu Yang, not me. The Black Hell King clenched his fist. I will look for him, but I don't have the confidence to kill him now. Actually, he's very strong and very cunning. It's impossible to kill him. I'm just using you and Thousand Goblin King to create some trouble for him to buy some time for me. I'm the same as that brat, we both lack time. Black Hell, I originally thought highly of your intelligence, but it's a pity that you've been scared witless by the prison emperor and Yu Yang. It's impossible for a single person to have the chance to deal with 2 plus 3. I can let you go, but I believe that many people won't agree. Black Hell, have a safe journey. The shadow reached out and patted the Black Hell King's shoulder, as if bidding farewell to an old friend. His figure disappeared into thin air. The Black Hell King was silent for a long time before he said hatefully, Why am I always below others? That's because you don't deserve to be above others. In the distant sky, a man with purple lightning flashing all over his body walked over step by step. This man looked valiant and handsome. He had a head full of black hair that looked like tiny black swords pointing towards the sky. He looked like he had a strong personality. His eyes were as deep as a black hole, without any human emotions. It was like the eyes of a death god that could absorb souls. He wore a shrunken version of his clothes. Other than the fitting sleeves, the rest of his clothes were only half the size of normal clothes, revealing his perfect and sturdy abdominal muscles. His black pants were embroidered with 2 colored silver dragons. These silver dragons were huge dragons with wings. They were 2 divine dragons from the Eastern Goblin tribe. The most eye-catching thing was that there was an extremely strange weapon hanging on his waist. The weapon was wrapped in purple cloth. It looked like a blade, but not a blade, and also like a sword, but not a sword. If it was just recognition, not many people in Tong Tian Tower would recognize him. But if it was his name, not many people in Tong Tian Tower wouldn't recognize him. He was the boss of the demonic palace, the #1 sky demon that even Sky Law couldn't surpass after becoming an innate elder, Sky Execution. It really is you. Black Hell King nodded. In the entire Tong Tian Tower, only you would be so eager to kill me. That's right, I won't let Yu Yang find a chance to kill you. It would be useless for him to kill you, and I would lose a chance to level up. Other than realms, Yu Yang has already caught up to me in other aspects. I will definitely not let him surpass me in all aspects. The #1 sky demon of the demonic palace belongs to me, Sky Execution. Sky Wolf's destiny may surpass me in the future, but not today. Sky Execution walked in front of Black Hell King in the void, and stared at him coldly. Now, say your last words. I promise that I will kill you before Yu Yang's Sky Wolf arrives. You. Looks like you have comprehended the innate elder realm. No wonder you are so confident. Black Hell King's eyes turned cold and nodded. If I had comprehended it back then, you would be the one dying. What a pity. If I wasn't too stupid and trusted my companions back then, you wouldn't be alive today. What a pity. The old dragon turtle, who was hugging the prison emperor divine staff, had arrived. He had transformed into an old man. His appearance was still that of an old man with a withered body and mind. However, compared to when Yu Yang first met him, his weakened state had improved a lot. He had probably used the prison emperor divine staff to recover most of his strength. Even if he had not reached his peak state, he would still be able to fight against the Black Hell King with the Prison Emperor Divine Staff. Yuan Long, you are late. Black Hell King wasn't surprised by the old dragon turtle's appearance. It doesn't matter. Whether Sky Execution kills you, or Yu Yang kills you, or even if I die with you, it's all the same. Old Dragon Turtle replied indifferently, as long as I can kill you, I don't care about the process. It's a pity that third young master isn't here, if not I would really choose someone to send me on my way. Black Hell King suddenly laughed out loud. Since third young master isn't here, how about I send you off? Yu Shan's voice rang out from the foot of the mountain. Black Hell King's expression changed immediately. His expression became extremely ugly. Elder Nangong carried the weak Yu Shan and flew to the top of the rocky peak. He gently put Yu Shan down. This is all I can do. Do you really have to do this? He was obviously asking Yu Shan. Yu Shan respectfully bowed to him. Elder Nangong, thank you very much. This is Yu Shan's choice, I have no regret. He turned around and smiled at Black Hell King, who had an ugly expression. He cupped his hands. Black Hell King, this is actually my first time meeting you. But it doesn't matter. I think that we are similar people. Otherwise, you wouldn't have chosen me. I didn't come here for any other reason. I just wanted to give you this body. Betrayal, inherent skill can betray anything, but it shouldn't be able to betray devotion. Devotion is equivalent to selflessness. Betrayal can only betray others. Even if you can betray yourself, you can't truly be selfless. Black Hell King really wanted to kill Yu Shan in one hit, but he didn't move. Finally, after a long time, he slowly opened his mouth and asked, Do you really want to do this? What benefits do you get from doing this? Do you think that Yu Yang will be grateful to you? No, he will never change his opinion of you, because you have never been a good person. Don't lie to yourself, your ambition has never been inferior to mine. Your unwillingness to accept defeat has never been inferior to mine. Why can't we work together? Yu Shan, as long as you are willing, we can start anew. As long as we manage this body together and continue to survive, it is not impossible to defeat Yu Yang in the end. Yu Shan replied, If I wasn't a father, I might agree with you. But you are not a father, you will never understand the meaning of what I am doing. He took out a dagger and stabbed it deep into his chest. His chest was cut open. His steaming internal organs were exposed. Blood splattered into the sky like rain. Yu Shan didn't seem to be in pain at all. With a smile on his face, he cut out the beating heart and held it in his palm. Then, he used the last of his strength and said to Black Hell King, This is for you. Black Hell King painfully closed his eyes. Yu Shan maintained that position for a long time until the mountain wind became stronger and blew his body askew. Only then did he slowly collapse and fall into the valley. With the decree of Sky Execution, I judge the evil, destroy the heart. Sky Execution raised his right hand. He slowly tightened his fist and clenched it. The heart in Yu Shan's hand and the beating heart in Black Hell King's chest exploded at the same time. The betrayal inherent skill was completely ineffective under Yu Shan's Anata offering. Black Hell King said with blood flowing out of his mouth, So this is how a mutated inherent skill works. He killed me, not you guys, it was him. As more blood flowed out of his mouth, Black Hell King gently wiped it away. His whole body exploded with power. He instantly rose to innate Elder Level 2. Waving his hand, he tore off the cloak on his body, revealing a body of dark holy armor. He took out his dark holy sword and pointed it at Sky Execution. Since it's like this, Sky Execution, let us have our final battle. Let me see if your Sky Execution's power is stronger or my Black Hell's power is stronger. Elder Nangong didn't watch the final battle. He floated down and hugged Yu Shan, who was still smiling victoriously. He nodded. The real victor is you. Chapter 628. Yushan died in battle. Yu Yang had just returned from Heaven Realm when he heard the news. When he returned to Tian Luo Palace where Fourth Mother was, Yu Yang found out that Fourth Mother was not there. Drunken Cat, who was still training hard, immediately told him the news and asked him to comfort Fourth Mother. The kind Fourth Mother was very sad when she heard the bad news. She had already returned to the Yu Clan Castle to accompany Yu Yu. When Yu Yang returned to the Yu Clan Castle, he still hadn't seen Fourth Mother, but he realized that Jun Wu Yu and the old cunning fox had arrived. Even Elder Nan Gong and the old dragon turtle, the two old men who were rarely seen, were waiting for him. Elder Nan Gong did not say much. He only briefly told Yu Yang about how Yushan used his spirit of sacrifice to eliminate the betrayal, inherent skill, and how Sky Execution killed the Black Hell King. In front of everyone, Elder Nan Gong naturally did not say that Yushan was the substitute chosen by the Black Hell King. But when Yu Yang heard it, he understood. If it was not for the Black Hell King's substitute, no matter how much Yushan sacrificed, he would not be able to eliminate the Black Hell King's betrayal inherent skill. Actually, he had his suspicions long ago, but Yushan did not make any moves, so Yu Yang pretended not to know. He did not think that Yushan would be so noble to actually sacrifice his life to kill the Black Hell King. This heroic act made Yu Yang a little surprised. Besides feeling strange, Yu Yang had another question. Even if Yushan sacrificed himself, he might not be able to kill the Black Hell King, right? If Sky Execution could kill the Black Hell King, he would have joined hands with the Dragon Emperor to kill the Black Hell King. Now that the Dragon Emperor did not come, was it really that easy to kill the Black Hell King with just Yushan's help? This was a question that very few people would suspect, but Yu Yang thought about it for a long time. There must be some inside story. Yu Yang definitely did not believe that Yushan and Sky Execution could kill the 6,000-year-old traitor Black Hell King. There must be someone behind this. Who was it? Thousand Goblin King's doppelganger? Not possible. Thousand Goblin King's doppelganger was not strong enough to protect himself. Scarlet Emperor? However, the Scarlet Emperor was chased away by Ji Zun and escaped to the Heaven Realm. It was unlikely that he would stay in the Soaring Dragon continent. After all, what the Scarlet Emperor needed the most now was to recover his original strength. There was another person who was very suspicious. It was the ancient demon King Soul. Yu Yang had once suspected that this spirit was someone from the Yu Clan Castle, or that it was someone who had hidden extremely well in the Xia Empire. It was a pity that he could not be sure. If it was the doppelganger King Soul, Yu Yang Woodshan and Yushan worked together to Tian to kill the Black Yang. Chen. Yang did not doubt. Yu Yen Shan and Ming Tian. Yang was dragon. Yang was Yang King Yang's realm. Elder Nan Gong and I guessed that it might be that person. You have to be careful in the future. The old dragon turtle whispered to Yu Yang, causing Yu Yang's entire body to tremble. Sure enough, it was just as he had guessed. The old dragon turtle patted Yu Yang's shoulder and passed the Prison Emperor Divine staff to him. He sighed slightly and said, "The Black Hell King is dead. My wish has been fulfilled. There's also the Scarlet Emperor. Don't forget that he is not dead yet." Yu Yang was afraid that the old dragon turtle would go back to the Prison Emperor Divine Palace to commit suicide. "Scarlet Emperor, he is yours. I am old and can't fight anymore." The old dragon turtle laughed. Actually, the old dragon turtle accepted Jun Wu Yu's suggestion. Jun Wu Yu and the old fox had already discussed about digging a huge man-made lake near the Yu Clan Castle to build a divine dragon underground palace for the old dragon turtle to live in seclusion. Firstly, it was to protect the old dragon turtle's dignity as a divine beast that protected the Soaring Dragon continent. Secondly, when Yu Yang got angry, he could persuade him. After all, the old dragon turtle had followed the Prison Emperor before. His words were more useful than others. Another point was that Yu Yang had brought back a few hundred Heaven Realm Draconians from the Wyvern Valley. These women were not willing to return to the Heaven Realm unless Yu Yang led them into battle. If they joined any country, it would affect the distribution of power in the Soaring Dragon continent. It would even affect Tong Tian Tower. After discussing, Jun Wu Yu and the others decided to give them a neutral area to build a Dragon God Palace. It could be considered as the temporary residence of the new prison emperor, Yu Yang. This way, they would not leave Yu Yang. They would not be linked to any power. Hence, the plan to build a divine dragon underground palace and a dragon god palace came into being. With a dragon god palace, no matter what clan Yu Yang brought back from the Heaven Realm, they could all be arranged to live in this neutral area. The Dragon God Palace's power would not be controlled by anyone, nor would it restrict the outside world. Everyone would be happy. We want to let Senior Yu on long rest. It's like this. Jun Wu Yu hurriedly found an excuse to smooth things over and whispered to Yu Yang. Dig a man-made lake? Build an underground palace and a palace? Yu Yang felt that digging a man-made lake near the Yu clan castle was a very troublesome move. There were so many lakes and oceans in the world. Why did they have to dig a man-made lake near the Yu clan castle where there were so many mountains? In other words, they were afraid that he would not come back from the Heaven Realm, so they wanted to build a house for him here. At the same time, they wanted to let this old turtle take the opportunity to teach him how to be a prison emperor. With Yu Yang's intelligence, he could naturally see through Jun Wu Yu and the old cunning fox's thoughts. He clapped his hands and said, "Since that's the case, let's dig a bigger one. I've met an even bigger old turtle in the Heaven Realm. I think we'll need a bigger lake to contain it." "How big?" "It's an ancient island whale. It's 10 times bigger than a normal island whale." "How big do you think it is?" "Pooh." When the old dragon turtle heard this, he spat out his tea. Cough, 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 cough. Jun Wu Yu and the old fox also coughed nonstop. They all knew that Yu Yang was abnormal. If he went to the Heaven Realm, he would definitely not return empty-handed. But no matter what, they would never have thought that Yu Yang would return with an entire ancient island whale in just a few days. With this speed, the Heaven Realm would be emptied by him sooner or later, and the Soaring Dragon continent would definitely be filled with creatures from the Heaven Realm. In the end, Jun Wu Yu spoke. He decided to make the man-made lake 100 times bigger. Anyway, the war between the Soaring Dragon continent and the Demon Abyss had stopped. Every country had a large number of soldiers. Turning them to build the miraculous Dragon God Palace and Divine Dragon Underground Palace was the best choice to convert their military strength. Moreover, this could also unite all the city masters. Whether it was the traitors, selfish or loyal city masters, they would definitely be willing to contribute a little to this grand undertaking. Moreover, as long as there was money, would there be no lack of people working in the Soaring Dragon continent? Even if the Soaring Dragon continent lacked manpower, would the other continents in Tong Tian Tower lack manpower? One had to know that when the current Ocean Queen of the Sea Clan in the 10th floor of Tong Tian Tower heard that Yu Yang was going to build a Dragon God Shrine and Divine Dragon Underground Palace, she didn't hesitate and immediately sent 300,000 people to help. The Emperor of the Underworld's actions were not slower than her. Eastern Goblin Tribe, Golden Elves and so on also sent their representative. In short, as long as Yu Yang was willing to agree, everything would be easy. He was just afraid that this brat would be stubborn and not agree. Jun Wu Yu was originally prepared to ask his daughter to take down this brat, but now it seemed that there was no need. If Yu Yang was angered, it would not be good. He was usually quite easy to talk to. Before Elder Nan Gong left, he looked at Yu Yang and nodded slightly. Of course, Yu Yang understood what he meant. He was telling him not to be impatient. Those hidden enemies would definitely have some tricks up their sleeve. He must not be impatient, otherwise he would fall into their trap. Looking at Elder Nan Gong's expression, Yu Yang's heart sank. He kind of guessed who that mysterious shadow was. If it was really that person, it would be a little troublesome. He had to be especially careful. If he did not handle it well, he would be at a disadvantage. The old cunning fox hugged Yu Yang's shoulders and whispered, "Old Marshal need not say any more." He already knew Yu Shan's wish. Furthermore, Yu Shan did this because he wanted to be benevolent and righteous. Although old Marshal was sad, he was proud of his son's change. What we are afraid of is the other person. It's best not to tell him about this. We are really afraid that he would not be able to handle it. Understood. Actually, Yu Yang was also a little uneasy. If it was really that person, and it was the ancient demon king's soul, then it would be troublesome. You're here. Sit down. Elder Yu Hai sat in front of Yu Shan's coffin quietly. Only when he saw Yu Yang did he nod his head and signaled Yu Yang to sit down. Xiao San, accompany Grandpa to drink 2 cups. Yu Yang approached the wine that 5th elder passed to him. He bowed slightly to Elder Yu Hai and drank it in one go. He drank 3 cups in a row. Only then did Elder Yu Hai stop and nodded. I drank these 3 cups on behalf of Ah Shan. I know that he was not in a good mood after all these years. He was a smart and hard-working person. His innate talent was also not bad. However, since he was young, he had been under pressure from the outside world. Ever since he was young, he was surpassed by your father, making him, the big brother, feel ashamed. After your father left, he took over as the substitute clan master for a few years. Then, you rose again and you even surpassed your father by 100 times. Ah Shan is a person with ambition and a desire for power. I am not blind, I watched him grow up, so I naturally know what kind of person he is. Actually, I originally wanted to pass the position of clan master to him. If he were to become the clan master, he would definitely be stronger than your father. However, the clansmen did not think so. Everyone thought that the stronger one was, the more suitable he would be to become the clan master. Under this pressure, there was a period of time when Ah Shan really changed. He did many things and was even used by bad people. It was almost impossible for him to turn back. Yu Yang hurriedly comforted this lonely old man. Big Uncle has used his blood to wash away his past mistakes. He is a good person, he is a Yu clan's man. Yu Hai nodded his head. Grandpa has to thank you for this. Without you, Ah Shan would only sink deeper and deeper. It would be impossible for him to turn back, and even more impossible for him to become the demon slayer hero that everyone praised. It was you who gave him a chance. It was you who gave him a chance to be a hero. Xiao San, there are many things in the past that you don't know. If you seek the truth too much, you might hurt many people. Do you understand what I mean? If that person appears, what should we do? Although Yu Yang had received the old cunning fox's warning, he still couldn't help but ask. I have actually thought about it before. It's just his body, but his soul is that of a demon king. What's the point of existing? Xiao San, you are a good child. Grandpa will tell you something now. There are some things that Grandpa can't do personally. I hope that you can muster the courage to correct your mistakes and free him. When Elder Yu Hai said this, his expression became unusually serious as he looked at Yu Yang. I believe this is also your father's wish. 5th Elder comforted Elder Yu Hai at the side. Brother Hai, it's not certain yet. Maybe there are other ways. Let Xiao San think of a way himself. Elder Yu Hai raised his only arm and stopped 5th Elder's words. Once again, he used an extremely serious expression and looked at Yu Yang. His voice was low and hoarse, but it was incomparably sonorous and powerful. Remember, if it's really him, you don't have to worry. Kill him quickly. This is Grandpa's only request for you. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.